Hello, fellow homebrewers. JP here, and I want to introduce to you the brand new Brew Built X1 Conical Series available at More Beer. More Beer sells the highest standard in homebrewing equipment, and the Brew Built Conicals are just that. They're made from mirror-polished 304 stainless steel, and they come with loads of features that you and I have been looking for. They have a full 2-inch bottom dump valve, which will eliminate your clogging issues, while the sturdy base includes 4 reinforced legs, just like those big Pro tanks do. More Beer also carries the Brew Built line of options and add-ons like casters, pressure kits, and even external glycol chillers. So you can find out more about the new Brew Built X1 Conical Unitanks by going over to morebeer.com for detailed videos on the entire line of Brew Built Conicals. You can trust Brew Built with your next fermentation, and you can trust More Beer to find the right conical for you. Brew Built at morebeer.com.
Home brewers, craft brewers, beer lovers, beer drinkers.
Get ready for an all-new experience in information exchange and beer culture.
Your only source for live beer radio that brings expert brewers from around the globe
right to your home.
You're not just listening to broadcasters, it's the Brewcasters
on the Brewing Network.
Man, it's a hot one today, guys. It's a hot one. Holy smokes.
We're smoking.
Yeah. I don't know about your part of the country, but our part of the country is like 100 degrees right now. Something like that. You guys know what it is outside? Your Hummer's got to say something inside.
Yeah, it was 98, 99 when I came in.
98, 99. That's unbelievable. And it's at least 115 in the studio then.
Yes.
We might as well have a convertible studio with the sun beating right down on us.
It's a dry heat.
I kept the AC on all day, though, to try to smooth it out.
Hey,
it's
how
not
thoughtful.
too bad. It's not too bad. I like it when I get to make fun of Dr. Scott's Hummer.
How can you?
He drives one of those awesome, like, giant H2s, you know, that you only find in America. That's awesome. It takes up the carpool lane and the fast lane. It's nice, though. I like that thing.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I'm going to get him drunk one time and let him drive. Let me drive.
They'll let you borrow it, I'm sure.
I'm just going to be like, Dr. Scott, you can't drive. I'll drive you home.
Of course.
The back roads.
What's your wife drive, Dr. Scott? Another giant vehicle?
No, she drives a 540 Beamer wagon.
Okay, gotcha.
Ooh, 120 mile an hour wagon.
That's great.
It's a stealth mobile.
I drive a Chevy S10 pickup.
86 Honda.
I can fit a lot of beer in my car, though. It's got the bed in the back, although I haven't had a lot of beer to put in it lately.
Have you slept in the back?
Oh, yeah, the back's great to sleep in.
Good.
All right, enough about vehicles. It's a beer show. Welcome to, I'm going to stop numbering our shows now because I can't really count much.
You can't get it
5.
straight anyway.
That's 2 weeks in a row.
So just welcome back in general. And we got a great show for you today. We don't have a guest. No, there's no brewer in, but it's okay because our plethora of knowledge combined is going to make up for that. Isn't that right, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't need a guest every week. We're going to fill it up with some other awesome stuff. Our trivia game is back this week. So I got some new categories, a couple new twists that I'll explain in a few minutes. Let's recap last week real quick. A lot of people didn't get to tune in.
Recap that for me.
That's part of my recap,
that was
too.
a scary one.
That I had to recap it for you guys. Drake's Brewery was in last week, and Roger, the brewmaster, one of them anyway, there's another brewmaster there too, came in and brought some of their experimental beers, plus some of their just, beers they're distributing, like the IPA and their blonde, which, their blonde is awesome. Their blonde ale. He left some samples, and man, I went right through that. Perfect summertime ale.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
He brought in stuff that you just can't get, wood-aged stuff.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing, is that he had two particular beers. One was like a port. It was brewed.
Scotch ale in it.
Is a Scotch ale that had been not fermented, but aged.
Aged in a port barrel.
Aged in a port barrel. Yeah. And then a different beer, which I think was a Belgian, that was aged in a whiskey barrel. Was it a Belgian to start?
Yeah, was it Flanders Red?
Yeah. And so he aged that in a whiskey barrel, and my first drink of it, I took a chug. I didn't know what it was, and I drink it like I do all beers. You take a big swallow, and man, I about choked.
You didn't say anything the last time I recall.
Yeah,
it's hard to do.
I was left speechless. But the awesome part about it was that you two, John and Dr. Scott, man.
We went to town on this.
You were awesome by the end of the show.
About the third one, John finally says, what's the alcohol content on this? This one's about 9, and the other one's 8.5.
I think that one of them was like 12 or 18.
Yeah, it was. There was one that was up there, and that one signature one was about 11.5 or 12.
Yeah,
he tells us this afterwards.
Yeah,
it was great.
I was spinning actually afterwards, so.
It was cool because by the end of the show, like both of you two wanted to run the show.
Yeah, we were talking.
You were like, "No, this is what's next." And I just was like, "Oh yeah." It was fun though. I liked it, and like I said it last week. I'm still going to do it. I'm gonna set up an archive that has you guys at the beginning of the show compared to you at the end, and I'll do myself in there too because I get a little loose lipped, so it's going to be funny.
Yeah.
It'll be good stuff. So that was a really fun show, and Roger from Drake's was real cool. I'm hoping they come back and hang out. And he brought his girlfriend, Claudia. I think it's his girlfriend anyway. I don't know.
Sure.
But she works at 21st Amendment Brewery in San Francisco, and she was hanging out. That was cool.
And then he saw your poker table, and his eyes lit up.
Yeah. We played poker till like 10. I thought that maybe it was going to be good business for me to lose to him, right? But I just can't do that. I don't have it in me to lose. So I didn't take him out, though. I won on one big hand from him. But then Beverly, one of my roommate's girlfriend, she cleaned out everybody.
Yeah.
Cleaned us out.
Daniela cleaned me out, too.
John got beat.
Yeah.
It was cool, though. Yeah, so he hung out. We played poker till the wee hours, and I kept getting drunk. So it was nice. It was a good show and a good ending.
It was.
Yeah. Anyway, we also discussed water last week, so catch the archive for that. I had a little trouble with the archive because I left the archiver on for about 10 hours.
Whoops.
So the size of the archive was just massive, and my editing program couldn't handle it. So I'm having trouble even getting it edited down to the 3-hour show that it was.
Wow.
I'll get it, though. But I did replay it anyway. I just replayed it, and then it played a bunch of music after that. But you should check it out. There was a pretty complicated and intense water discussion, but if you're having trouble with any sort of medicine-y flavors or some other things that we talked about in there, it's a good show to listen to because at least you can try to pinpoint. If you've tried everything else, you can go to the water, and Dr. Scott did a great job of telling you what to do there.
If you got any questions, you want to bring them up today for any water questions you got hanging over from last week,
we'll answer.
Send me.
Yeah.
Okay. This week, what we're going to discuss, usually we discuss these, some of the main parts of beer. I think we've gone through all of them. We've done yeast, we've done water, we've done the malt, we've done all that stuff. We've done hops. Today, we're actually going to talk about a part of the process. We're going to talk about wort. And not just, we're not really going to talk about creating wort because we've done that in the other process. We're going to talk about wort from the time you turn off the flame until the time you pitch the yeast. And we're going to talk about cold break. I think we'll talk a little bit about hop break because it's part of what happens, that comes from boiling your wort.
Hot break too.
So we're going to do the hot break. We're going to do the cold break. We're going to talk about chillers, different types of chillers. We've mentioned Dr. Scott's Mega Super Ultra Chiller. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But there's also a few other kinds, and we're going to talk to you about those and which kinds would work for you. If you have questions, definitely call in. And also why you would even chill beer, which has a lot to do with the cold break and getting it down to temperature quickly and all sorts of stuff. So hang in. That's going to come sort of later in the show because our trivia game, I think, is going to last a little while today. It's going to be fun. We're going to try to get some listeners involved. So we're going to get to the word a little bit later. But as usual, ask your questions the entire show. If you're tuning in and you haven't noticed on the webpage, there is a chat room. It's kind of a pain to use sometime, but just log in as a guest. Don't bother registering. Go ahead and log in as a guest. Put whatever name you want, and then put a number after it, like 12, 13, doesn't matter. Just put a number after it, and you'll get in. It's a weird thing. Don't ask me why. We're still working on getting that fixed.
Slowly but surely.
Hopefully when the new site is up, that'll go up too. So go to the chat room. You can definitely get to Daniela is monitoring the chat room today. Daniela, I'd like to say hi to you for a second, if you don't mind. I had a request over the past week to give you some airtime. You don't get to talk enough, apparently.
No, that's very nice of the chat room, apparently.
Yeah. So
hi to everybody. Especially my friends from Australia who are in the chat room today again.
Oh, cool.
They've been drunk for a week, they just told me.
Why? Is it holiday there?
No, it just got a kegerator.
Oh, yeah. I did too the first time I got a kegerator.
So that was really funny. A lot of people have been drunk over the weekend, like entirely.
Really?
Yeah.
Why, is it holiday there or just
No, not at all.
Just a good weekend for drinking?
Just a good weekend for drinking.
That makes sense. Later on, we got a surprise for you guys. Daniela actually brewed her first beer, and we're going to let you guys try it a bit later on.
Yeah. I'm so excited about it.
She's willing to have Dr. Scott evaluate it with his harsh tastes. And then, John, Captain National Award-winning brewer over there, she wants him to have it too. So later on in the show, we also have a listener brewer that was sent in by Bug Eater Brewing, one of our valued forum users. I see him there all the time. I think he won Jamil's beer a couple weeks ago. He said that in his letter. And we're going to try his beer. So if you're out there, Wayne, hang on, because we're going to taste your beer toward the end, and along with Daniela's, and give an evaluation. It'll be our second listener evaluation.
Great. I can't wait for that.
Okay, so we'll put you back on the microphone for that, Daniela.
Thank you.
Anything else
I'm
you
surprised she kept it away from you.
Yeah, true. It's like, come on, let's have it.
No, he actually did not try it yet. You're the first one who gets to try it, Dr. Scott.
Cool.
Yeah. So
Looking forward to it.
All right. And if it's real good, we'll send it out to the chat room or something.
We will.
All right. Thanks, Daniela. So she's helping you out in the chat room today, of course, and feel free to send her your questions. Okay. I got a couple of news items, as usual. I think it's always fun to talk about some things going on in the brew world, give you guys something to mull over. Have you guys heard about this beer fan who developed the Turbo Tap, which will pour a beer at least twice as fast as your normal tap? Which I think is important because sometimes you just can't wait. You know what I'm saying? What he's done, you guys both have a dirty look on your face, like that's a wrong thing to do.
Or we've heard of it before.
Okay. Matthew Yunkel's dream as a college senior was a better beer tap. 10 years later, he's helping to draw a fast one with his new Turbo Tap. The finger-sized nozzle attaches to a standard beer tap and pours a draft brewski at least twice as fast as the usual way. The Wall Street Journal reports that his company has installed about 1,000 turbo taps at bars, restaurants, and ballparks, including Wrigley Field, where the Chicago Cubs play. It works by lessening the impact of the beer on the bottom of the cup or glass, reducing the foam and the need to slow the flow of the brew. Yonkel, who created it, says he created the Turbo Tap with a lot of R&D, which he calls research and drinking.
That's funny.
Have you guys seen this or something?
I saw it on the website last week.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
On the Turbo Tap
Actually,
website?
Chris has showed something to me. It clips onto a standard faucet, and it just submerges all the way in the pint glass. Fills from the bottom up.
Fills from the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You can have a higher pressure on your CO2.
Right.
Serve faster.
Okay.
More beers at a time.
I still like the faucet they have at B3.
It's super.
Yeah, it's the Oktoberfest faucet. Yeah. It'll pour a liter of beer in 5 seconds.
Is that right?
A liter.
A liter.
Wow.
5 seconds.
Without a lot of foam or anything else?
It's got a flow control on the side of it.
Oh, okay.
So you get like 30-pound pressure, boom, you're done.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And the foam is not, but it's $250.
Is it really just for that?
Just for fast beer, man.
Hey, if you got it, it's worth it, I say. On a hot day, you got to pour that stuff quick.
Oktoberfest, that's a party you got to be pouring.
Right. So anyway, I thought maybe you guys want to look into that. If you need to pour faster beer at home, check out Turbo Tap somewhere. Have you guys heard of this beer spiked with nicotine coming out of Germany?
Gross.
It's called NicoShot. And basically it's designed to help smokers stop smoking, a lot like nicotine gum. It's been around, the news report came out the beginning of July, so some of you guys might have heard of it.
Now they're going to be drunk.
Yeah. NicoShot is this is the quote from the company who made it. It's a cigarette satisfaction in a beer without the smoke. 3 cans of NicoShot is comparable to an entire pack of conventional cigarettes. And best of all, there's none of the tar or carbon monoxide that comes from burning tobacco. Similar to nicotine gum, NicoShot is considered the nicotine replacement therapy and provides a steady, controlled release of nicotine. I think that 3 cans and a whole pack of cigarettes, that's a lot of nicotine there.
Yeah.
NicoShot is brewed to the German purity law and contains 3 milligrams of naturally derived nicotine alkaloids, 63 calories, and 4.5 carbs.
Wait, how does that fit into the German purity law?
Well, I think that they probably brewed it to purity, and then I guess they added it after the fact.
But you can't add.
You can't
they can't even add carbonation.
Well, I read you guys that story a few weeks ago about the one company who finally did win that he can call his stuff beer. According to purity law, he adds sugar syrup after fermentation. So they're starting to let in some after fermentation type of stuff. But this guy says it's according to the German purity law. I agree with you guys. I think that's questionable if he's adding something to it. The beer is 6.3% alcohol by volume per 250 milliliter shot can. The beer is fire brewed separately, and a standardized herbal extract of the natural tobacco leaf is added at the end of the brewing process. So there you go. If you're trying to quit smoking, you might try this Nika shot because you get to drink and smoke at the same time.
A whole different addiction.
Well, when I quit smoking, one of the toughest things was drinking because that's when you, even as if you're a moderate smoker, when you drink, you go out to bars at night, you're a super smoker. Yeah. You just smoke twice as much. So now, I guess you get your nicotine high while you're smoking too. So
a lot of the bars, especially in California, they won't let you smoke.
Where you can't smoke, right? You can drink a Nika shot. I think it's a great idea. I don't know. Leave it to the Germans to come up with that, though, right?
Yeah. How much is it for a Nika shot?
I don't know. It doesn't say.
Oh, darn.
Does Bevmo have it?
It's a good question, though. If anybody's going to, it's going to be Bevmo, isn't it? And it's going to be warm and
How about you dry hop a carton of cigarettes?
Hey, you probably use a hot bag.
Oh, God. Can you imagine the taste? Actually, though, cigarettes smell good before they're burnt. So
and actually, the first puff, when you... I've never smoked, but that first one you light, it smells different than all the rest of them.
You're right. It's quite nice, actually.
You just get a bag of that nicotine, just dry hop it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
If anybody out there has ever tried a Nika shot, if you're from Germany or anywhere in Europe,
but what's the carton
give us a call. I want to know.
Now?
By the way, the carton of cigarettes is expensive. They're it's like $5.50 a pack or so. I don't know what carton of cigarettes is.
Pretty moist bag.
The number here is 888-401-BEER, by the way. I didn't give that out enough last week, apparently. If you want to call in about Nika shot or anything else, 888-401-BEER. Okay. Well, that one's kind of a long story about some Iranians that didn't want this guy to serve beer at their meeting. Wasn't that cool? How about this one? A Santa Fe guy from New Mexico faces his 8th DWI charge.
He'll be in prison for a while.
I don't know. I don't think so. You would have thought after 5 he'd be in prison.
What state is this?
How do you get to 8?
That's my question, is how the heck what is wrong with the state
different
you
states.
Can get to 8? I think that drinking and driving, we try to say as much as we can here. It's just it's a terrible thing to do. Don't do it. I thought I'd read this story because I just think it's really interesting how a guy gets to his 8th. But he also said some funny things in there. All right, I'll give you the whole story. Santa Fe resident Moises Gonzalez, who in 1985 pleaded guilty to driving drunk in a crash that killed 3 teenage girls, again has been charged with driving while intoxicated, police said. The latest charge was the 8th time Moises Gonzalez of Santa Fe has been accused of driving while intoxicated. He was arrested on July 1st after he swerved on a road and almost hit a police car. He's quoted as saying,
"Moron.
I don't have a problem drinking, but when I do drink, I get caught." That's what he said.
You do have problems at 8 times.
He said that too.
It's like marriage. These guys that get married 5 times, you'd think you'd learn after the first few.
Exactly. You'd think so. But talk to my dad, and apparently they don't.
Okay.
But that's neither here nor there. According to a police report, an officer followed Gonzalez home on the night of his latest arrest, and as he got out of his truck, 2 empty beer cans fell from his vehicle. The report states that Gonzalez had a strong odor of alcohol, of course he did, bloodshot eyes, and slurred speech. He was unable to keep his balance, causing me to hold him up, said the officer. Patricia Montoya, mother of one of the girls who died in the 1985 accident, said that she wonders why Gonzalez is still on the road. And this, I think, is a really good question. In fact, I think some writing to Santa Fe needs to be done. Why is the guy still on the road? She said, I don't think he should be driving after what happened with my daughter. I was hoping he would never drive again. Gonzalez's most recent DWI charge is pending review. Gonzalez said he fears the possibility of being placed behind bars. Apparently he's really smart and attentive as well as a drunk.
Yeah.
Because, of course, he's going to be placed. Well, although if he's made it to 8, maybe he won't be put behind bars. He's quoted again as saying, "That's my big problem, drinking and driving," he said. "Obviously, my record shows that I drink and I drive a lot. But for those last 10 years, before the 2002, or at least before a 2002 conviction, I had been pretty much sober." As far as his homicide one in 85, Gonzalez was charged with vehicular homicide in the 85 crash that killed those girls.
So he's a murderer.
But in that case, court experts testified that Gonzalez could not have avoided the accident even if he were sober. Witnesses testified that the teen's car had darted out into traffic too quickly to judge, and the judge dismissed the charges. But Gonzalez still pleaded guilty to a DWI charge and was sentenced to 90 days in jail. So he's also served time in jail for his other separate occasions. His license was revoked in 2002, but it was later reinstated. So
he has 9 lives.
I think that's ridiculous.
She's 8 of them already.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, just because I'm an honest guy, I got a DUI not too long ago, and it was one of the best things that ever happened to me because, for one, I didn't hurt anybody. I had driven, not hammered before, but I was over the limit, and since then, I don't go near my vehicle since it happened, and I'm lucky that nobody ever got hurt. I didn't get hurt. I didn't hurt anybody else. When I went to see my attorney after I got it, the first thing he said when I sat down in his office was, all right, almost 80% of the people who come in here with a first DUI come back into my office with a second DUI. So don't be that guy, is the first thing he told me. And I thought that was an astonishing number. He was a DUI lawyer, that most of his first-time offenders come back as second-time offenders. And that says to me that it's, maybe it's just not doing the trick. Right. I mean, when I got my punishment for the DUI, it was horrible. It was well enough for me to realize it's just a stupid thing to do. You're talking like a $5,000 fine, 30 hours of classes, I think
volunteer work too, right?
I think 5 days of volunteer work. I lost my license. My insurance is still sky high. All sorts of things. But if people are coming back with second and third and 4 DUIs, maybe there's got to be more.
That's a state's problem, then.
Absolutely.
Stupid.
Absolutely. But apparently it's our state's problem, too, if he's getting guys coming in there with 2 and 3 of them. I think that you don't get in a lot of trouble in California. Well, you get in a lot of trouble. I shouldn't say that. But you don't get permanent consequences until like 5 here, even.
Really?
So you can get 3 or 4 DUIs even here. You'll lose your license for a good amount of time. You'll do some jail time, but you'll still get it back. And I don't know about that, man. If you're doing it 3, 4 times, come on. I think even 2. Obviously 1's bad enough, but... Yeah. But come on, repeat offenders like that, I think it's crazy. Yeah. So, all right, so there's my little political view, guys. I think you shouldn't do it, and I think that some states should maybe crack down a little more. If this guy's getting 8 DUIs after killing some people, that's ridiculous. Yeah. There you go. So if you're in Santa Fe and you're driving drunk, I don't know. I guess you're fine.
Please don't.
You're not going to get busted. You don't have to worry about going to jail. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to start the trivia game in just a couple minutes. I got to take a short break because I need to set it up and get some listeners involved. Here's the changes in this week's trivia game.
Why don't you tell them the categories now? They can write it down because they are the one that calls in.
I'll do the whole thing. First thing I need to do, though, is I'm changing a couple of the rules. So I got 3 people in the studio today that are going to play. It's going to be obviously John, Dr. Scott, and a good friend of ours, Schumann's going to play today. Say hi to the folks at home, Schumann.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, there you go. Schumann is not a beer connoisseur.
Hello, Schumann.
He's a beer drinker.
He's a beer drinker, and we thought we'd have him play just for the fun of it. Here's what's going to happen. Each one of the 3 of you is going to be playing for a person in the chat room. So if one of you wins, that the person in the chat room is the guy who gets the prize.
Okay.
And then we're also going to take a caller like we did last week as our 4th contestant because I want a caller on the air, a little more interaction.
Nice.
You guys are also each going to have to invent a noise to make when you buzz in. I didn't give you noisemakers this week because I thought it'd be fun if you made your own silly little noise and then I can laugh at you. Schumann, you got anything in mind yet? I figured it was going to be something like that. So there we go. That's the deal with the 3. You guys are each going to play for somebody in the chat room. Here's how we're going to decide who gets to play in the chat room. I've got a trivia question for you. The first 3 people to give the answer in the chat room, got to be the correct answer. It's not a difficult question. The very first 3, Danielle is monitoring it.
Sorry, I jumped the gun.
Oh, jeez.
I think that one's a bit too loud, Schumann. You might have to pick a different one. The first 3 people to pick the correct answer in the chat room, you guys are the ones that are being represented by our contestants here. And then the first caller to call in is going to be the one who gets it. So it's 888-401-BEER. You can call in now if you want, but you're just going to sit on hold for a couple minutes while we set this up and take a break. But other than that, the first caller, 888-401-BEER, you're going to be our contestant there. All right. Here's the question for the chat room. This brewery once claimed in an ad campaign that its beer was good for you. It claimed in its ad campaign, blank beer, it's good for you. So the first 3 people to answer that in the chat room are the ones that are being represented by our contestants here. Do you guys know what it is here in the room?
I think I remember reading it a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. It's quite an old, it's an old ad campaign, so you would have had to see it around somewhere. But this brewery once claimed in an ad campaign that its beer was good for you? You guys know the answer to that. So there you go. First 3 in the chat room are going to be represented by these guys. The other change I've made is that there's going to be a bonus round this week. So it's not just your regular round.
Uh-oh.
The top 2 scores out of the 4 of you, after the regular round is over, will advance to the bonus round. You will win a prize for winning the first round, and a second prize for winning the bonus round. So there's either a chance to double up on your prizes, or for 2 separate people to win prizes. So I think that's a good way to do it. The bonus round will be very similar to the main round, but it'll be very short with 1 category. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you guys the categories, and then we're going to take a really short break, like a 3-minute break. So you might want to write these down if you guys are thinking about playing along with us at home. There's 4 categories. They are, what's beer got to do with it?
That's great.
Like Tina Turner?
What's beer got to do with it? Got to do with it.
I knew someone was going to sing it when I gave that. I like that, Johnny. Good work. So what's beer got to do with it? And the ascending categories are 100 through 500. Those are the points. There are 5 questions.
In any order.
Okay. The second category, beer-vertising. That's right. Beer-vertising.
You're a clever guy, Jay. That's awesome.
I think I'm just a corny guy.
Yeah, you are. Okay, I didn't say
Again, 100, 200, 300, 400, and 500 for each of the categories. The third category is around the world in 5 beers. The fourth category is brewery me. That's right. Brewery me.
Can't even say that.
That's going to be fun. I should have saved it for the end of the show to make you guys have to say that. Okay, so once again, it's what's beer got to do with it, beer-vertising, around the world in 5 beers, and brewery me. Okay. I think we got our caller on the line, right? Okay, let's keep them on hold. What about the chat room? Are they still working on it?
No, they were so fast.
They're already ready. Well, maybe I don't even need to. All right, I just want to take a really quick break because I got to set it up. So, let's see. How long's this song? This song's 5 minutes. So hang in there, guys. We're going to be right back in 5 minutes.
The Brewing Network. Saving your life. 1 beer at a time.
All right, kids, we're back. I think we've got all our contestants set up to play. The game's ready to go. John's ready to go. He's pumped. All right, what we decided to do with the chat room is let them choose who gets to play for them. And we've also got our caller in here. So I think they've already chosen. We'll let Daniela announce that in just a second. Let me get our caller on the air here. Go ahead and do that. All right. You're on the air with the Brewing Network. Who's calling?
Hey, this is Daryl from Orlando.
Daryl, how you doing?
Good.
Is it as hot as it can get over there like it is here, or what?
Oh, yeah.
It
Africa
is.
hot here in the summertime.
Really? Africa hot.
That's hot.
It is hot. I like that. I'm going to start using that now.
Yeah.
It's Africa hot. What are you drinking right now, Daryl?
Some homebrew, the Imperial Stout.
Oh, okay.
What?
Nice warm weather beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You must be sitting in the air conditioning.
Oh, yeah, I got it going.
Okay.
Happy to have power, no hurricanes.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good for you. It missed you, didn't it? Went headed toward New Mexico or something, didn't it? Or?
No, it's headed Mexico, straight. Almost.
Oh, just straight to Mexico?
Straight, yeah.
Oh, okay. Lucky you. Sucks for them, I guess.
It happens.
Right. All right, so you ready to play the trivia game?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have the categories written down already?
Oh,
You should.
no, I don't, actually.
You don't have to, but it might help you. I'll read them once more. It's what's beer got to do with it?
Sing it, Johnny.
What's beer got to do with it? Got to do with it.
Thank you, John. You're no Tina Turner, but I appreciate it anyway.
Everybody's got the legs.
The second one is beer-vertising. The third one is around the world in 5 beers. And the last one is brewery me. I like that. Okay. Daniela? Who in the chat room, who have they chosen as their contestants? Will you give Daniela the microphone, please?
Who are the people
Yes,
in the
here we
chat
go.
room?
And yeah, who's playing and who have they chosen?
All right, we have Crutch playing with us tonight, and
Ah.
who chose the smart one, Dr. Scott?
Oh, thank you. All right.
Was that his words or your words?
No, that was his words, actually.
Cool.
Okay.
I hope I can make you proud.
All right, Crotch Rot's playing with Dr.
It is crazy
Scott.
how quick those kids are in the chat room. You know,
Ah.
you just announce a question, and then I have like 20 answers here on my screen.
Wow. Oh, by the way, if you're not in the chat room, which you should be, it's a lot of fun, the answer to the question was Guinness. Guinness used to advertise a long time ago that their beer, it said Guinness. it's good for you.
Brilliant!
So, okay, go on.
And then Aaron was the next to pick a representative. And he actually picked Schumann.
Schumann!
Yeah.
You actually got a vote, Schumann.
Aaron, I just want to say ahead of time, I'm so sorry.
I actually thought it would be like elementary school, where you're the last to be picked for the kickball.
Yeah, it's really weird. It happened all the time in kickball.
He's cleansing his palate over there.
Yes. Okay, go on.
And then we have Trev, 65, and he's going to be represented by Brewcaster John.
Okay. All
so
right.
good luck to everybody.
Good luck. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Daryl, you still with us?
Yep. I'm on.
Okay. You guys in the Daryl, you just have to say your name to ring in, okay? And it's first come, first serve. So when I say the question, if at any time you know it, just yell Daryl. All right?
Okay.
That's the only way we're going to know that you're buzzing in. Danielle is going to help me judge who does it first. You guys in the studio have to make up a silly sound.
Oh my God.
John, have you made up your sound? Oh, I like that one. That's a good one. That's John's sound, which also belongs to who? In the chat room, who's John's affiliate? Let's get these right. We have to have it all down. Trap. Okay. You're keeping score, you know, right, Daniela?
Trev.
Okay. Dr. Scott, what's your sound?
I'm going to hit the button, the remote horn button on the H2.
Can you hear it in here?
Try it. Wait, do it. Wait, hold on. We got to try it.
I don't think it's going to work.
It's not going to work.
Maybe the soundproof
still going
studio
out
is blocking the sound. You're going to have to make up a silly noise with your mouth, I think. Are you going to jingle your keys?
Yeah.
Okay. And Schumann.
Wow.
Okay.
That worked. Better than the other one.
The good thing is he won't be buzzing in very much. So we won't have to hear that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and let our caller start. You get to pick the first category, Daryl, because you're brave enough to call in. And you guys, here's what you're playing for. To win the first round, we're going to give you a B3 T-shirt, right? We're going to send it out to you, I don't know, sometime next week. So if you win the first round, there will be 2 winners of the first round, but the high score gets the T-shirt. Those 2 top scores will move on to the bonus round, and the winner of the bonus round will actually get a $20 gift certificate to B3, which we like to give out because then you get to get your own beer supplies.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So Daryl, of those 4 categories, you get to pick first. You can pick any numerical value. And if you need me to read them again, I will.
How about around the world in 5 beers?
Okay, and for what? You have 100 through 500.
Oh.
Yep,
okay.
you can pick any value. They're tougher as you get to the 500, but
we'll
obviously
off,
you get more points.
We'll start off easy then, 100.
Going for the 100. Okay, anybody can buzz into this question. Here's what you have to do. I'm going to name a beer, and you're going to name the corresponding country that it's made in, okay? Or at least originally made in.
Oh.
Steinlager. Oh, Dr. Scott.
New Zealand.
That's correct. 100 points for Dr. Scott. New Zealand is where Steinlager is brewed. Okay, Dr. Scott, you have control of the board. Go ahead, please.
Let's go for beers around the world for 300.
Okay, for 300. Skipping the 200, so that's still left. Are you ready, Daryl?
Yep, go ahead.
Tiger beer. Oh, I think that was John. Go
Africa.
ahead. Incorrect. Tiger beer. Schumann.
India?
Incorrect. Tiger beer.
Thailand.
Incorrect. You want to take a stab, Daryl? You're the last one.
Oh.
It's a tough one.
Sri Lanka.
No. Good guess, though. Singapore. It's actually brewed in Singapore. They're just starting the market over here, so that was a little tricky for you guys.
Wow, that's close.
That was the 300 question, so wait till you get to the 500.
Oh, shit.
Now, who knows? You never know how tough they're going to be. Dr. Scott, you still have control of the board. Go ahead, please.
Okay, let's go. What's beer got to do with it for 200?
That's a good choice. I like this category right here. Okay. What's beer got to do with it? This beer was named after an American president's brother. Dr. Scott.
Billy beer.
That's correct.
I knew that.
Did you know that, John?
I did.
You
My
didn't
grandfather
get
gave me a can of that.
it. Okay, that's another 200 for Dr. Scott, and he retains control of the board.
He forfeits points to me.
Yeah. Let's go with what's beer got to do with it for 400?
Okay. Going right for the big points. Dr. Scott wants to win early. In the TV show Laverne and Shirley, what was the specific name of the place the girls worked?
I don't have cable, so I'm sorry.
Oh, come on, John. Didn't you grow up with Laverne and Shirley?
No, he's
No.
too young.
Oh, I did. I love that
Dr.
show.
Scott could be my dad.
Daryl, you ever watch Laverne and Shirley?
Oh, it was the brewery, but I couldn't tell you where.
Okay. Just the name of the brewery. It was a brewery, that's correct. So we're looking for the name of the brewery. It looks like everybody's.
I'm sure they got it in the chat room.
Did anybody in the chat room say it? It was not Sam Adams. No. Daniela, somebody in the chat room said it was Sam Adams.
Tiger beer?
No, it was like a Milwaukee one.
It's actually called Schatz Brewery.
Yeah, I think it's Schlitz or Schlitz or something like that.
Yeah. Schatz Brewery is what I found. So nobody gets the points for that one. I'm going to give control of the board to Daryl, though, just because I can. Go ahead, Daryl.
Go back to beers around the world.
Okay, and you have 200, 400, or 500 points to go for.
Let's go for 500.
Okay, he's going for the big one. I like that. Castle Lager.
Daryl.
Go ahead, Daryl.
Australia.
That's not correct. Not correct. Castle Lager. Anybody can buzz in.
Where's the BJCP book?
Anybody in the chat room know that? I'd be interested to know, too. Castle Lager. Anybody want to take a stab?
Where'd you get this?
I'm not revealing my sources. I find these things all over the internet.
Yeah.
Castle Lager.
Castle Lager.
Nobody? Schumann? Go ahead, Schumann. Take a stab.
I'll give a wide guess.
Go for it.
I'll say Ireland.
Not correct.
America.
Not correct. John?
Austria.
South Africa. It's actually brewed in South Africa.
That was going to be my second
They
choice.
have a lot of castles there, don't they?
Yes. Daryl, you retain control of the board. Go ahead, please.
Do they have any castles over there?
Beers around the world for 200.
All right, you got it. Kronenberg 1664.
Daryl.
Go ahead, Daryl.
France.
You are correct. France is brewed. Kronenberg is brewed there. I drank it when I was in France. It is scheisse. It is a real bad beer. But
how many did it take you to figure that out?
I didn't stop after I figured it out.
You still drink it, though.
Because the beer selection is totally limited. So it was really the only thing I could drink there. The rest of it was just pretty bad, too. You could get Heineken, but I wanted to try different things. It was drinkable, but it's a lot like a Natural Light. If you guys in America have ever had Natural Light,
That's gross.
it's about that bad.
Sweet.
Caps.
Yeah. How did you know that, Daryl?
I've been.
Just been there? Okay. All right, nice work. So that was, 200 points for Daryl. Okay. Awesome. You retain control of the board. Go ahead, Daryl.
And we'll go for same category, 300.
Okay. It's actually for 400, and that finishes out the category. So this is the last one for Around the World in 5 beers. San Miguel. Dr. Scott.
Mexico.
Not true. This one's devious, this one.
Oh, wait. Okay.
San Miguel. We'll give everybody else a chance. If they don't get it, we'll give it back to Dr. Scott if he has a second guess. Anybody?
Nope.
Okay. Going to give it back to Dr. Scott.
Nicaragua?
No. The Philippines. San Miguel is actually from the Philippines. They brew now in Australia as well. I think they just bought a major brewery there. Okay, so Around the World in 5 beers is closed out. Daryl, you still have control of the board.
Let's go with beer. What's beer got to do with it?
Good choice. You have 100, 300, or 500.
Go with the 300.
300. Nice middle-of-the-road choice. The question is, the saying, mind your P's and Q's, originally meant what, Dr. Scott?
Before they'd have a fight in the pub, the bartender would stay up and say, mind your P's and Q's. That means pick up your pints and quarts so they don't get spilled.
I will accept that.
Wow,
it stood for pints and quarts. The story I had was watch how much you drink, like don't get drunk in a pub. Yeah. But still the same principle, mind your pints and quarts.
Mind your pints and quarts.
Okay, so that's 300 for Dr. Scott, and he gets control of the board. Go ahead, please.
Let's go with what's beer got to do for 500.
Okay, going for the big one. Dr. Scott, who I think is ahead right now, right? What are our tallies? He's at 600, and who's next? Daryl's at 200. Okay, Daryl, you could do this, man. You only need to be second place to move on.
Yeah, how am I doing over here?
Schumann?
Wait, what about me?
Yeah.
Schumann and John, you guys aren't doing so hot. Those of you who picked them in the chat room, wow.
Hey, they can come
Bad
There's
move.
a lot of points left on that board.
Don't play the lottery today. Okay, who once said, give me a woman, and I'm going to give you, this is multiple choice. Who once said, give me a woman who loves beer, and I will conquer the world? Was it Winston Churchill, Charles Dickens, Charlie Chaplin, or Kaiser Wilhelm? John?
Charles Dickens.
Incorrect.
Oh.
Schumann?
I'll guess Charlie Chaplin.
Incorrect. Go ahead, Dr. Scott. You got a 50-50 chance here.
Winston Churchill.
Incorrect. Daryl, there's only one answer left. Do you want to ring in with who it was?
I didn't follow what was left. Sorry.
Kaiser Wilhelm.
It was Kaiser Wilhelm. All you have to do is say it.
Kaiser Wilhelm.
Daryl, you are a stud.
Yes.
That's 500 points
Pulls
for
into the
Daryl. And he does pull into to lead with 700 points, right? Wow, and that gives you control of the board. Go ahead.
About beer advertising or beer advertising.
Okay. All the selections are available there. Which one would you like?
100.
100. Beer advertising. I'm going to give you a slogan, and you're going to tell me what beer used it. Tastes great, less filling. I think it was Dr. Scott.
I ring in John's.
And you ring in John's buzzer. Go ahead, Dr. Scott.
Bud Light.
Incorrect. Go ahead, Schumann. Go ahead, Schumann.
Miller Lite.
Correct. Miller Lite. All right. Schumann put Aaron on the board.
How do you like that, Aaron?
With 100 points. Schumann, you have
What are you
control of the
drinking
board.
right now, Schumann?
I'm drinking Beck's.
Oh, okay.
And maybe just say your name instead of that silly buzz that you did.
Schumann.
There you go. Go ahead, Schumann. You have control of the board.
Okay, I'll take beer advertising for 500.
Going for the big one. Beer advertising for 500 points. The one beer to have when you're having more than one beer. Dr. Scott.
I grew up on this. Schaefer.
That's correct.
Because when I was in dental school, we could buy a whole case for
Buy
like
it cheap.
$6.
Very
And
nice.
we did.
This is one cheap beer that I've never had, which is odd because I have had a lot of cheap beers.
From what I remember, when you're really poor and you want beer,
Yeah.
it's not that bad. It's right up there with Lucky.
Has Triple Freak evaluated this one in the forum
I didn't
yet?
look. I looked at most of the other ones he did.
Triple,
but
if you haven't evaluated Schaefer, I'd like to see an evaluation up there, please.
Schaefer.
Okay, that's 500 points for Dr. Scott, putting him back in the lead. Go ahead, you have control of the board, Doc.
Beer advertising for 400.
Okay, going for the big one, wants to retain the lead. So tonight, oops. So tonight, let it be blank. And blank is the name of the beer. So tonight, let it be blank. Bunch of blank faces here, Daryl. I don't know how you're looking over there.
Just let it be.
Is there a beer called Foreplay?
No, but if there was, I'd plug that in there for you.
Yeah.
Anybody? Okay. Lowenbrow is the answer.
Oh.
So tonight, let it be Lowenbrow. Gotta pay attention to the play on words. Daniela, did you know that one? You're shaking your head. She knew it. Daniela knew that it was Lowenbrow.
She should be representing.
Should have made Eric.
But have you ever let it be Lowenbrow?
Okay, Dr. Scott, you still have control of the board.
Okay, let's go to Brewery Me for 400.
Okay, going for the big one. It's the first time in this category.
Brewer Me.
Where is the oldest, and I'll accept the state, where is the oldest still brewing brewery in Australia? The oldest still brewing brewery in Australia for 400 points. I would suggest if you know any Australian states, take a stab.
Queensland.
Incorrect. Are there any? Nobody knows anything about Australia. Poor Australians. Are they answering in the chat room? I'm curious, Daniela. Okay. I would like to know if they know that. The oldest still brewing brewery in Australia? Nobody?
I don't have it.
Okay. It's actually Cascade Brewery. It's in Hobart, Tasmania. Tasmania. The island off of Australia, but still part of Australia. Oh, do they? What do they say in the chat room?
Adelaide?
Adelaide? Yeah. Sorry, guys. Well, you didn't answer fast enough. Who had Dr. Scott, you still have control.
Let's go to the same one. Brewery Me for 500.
500. Doc wanting to pull away once again. Which Canadian brewery once sold a brew called Cold Cock Winter Porter?
Wait, what was the name of it again?
Cold Cock Winter Porter.
Cold what?
Which I would have bought, by the way. Yes, it was a Canadian brewery, and it sold a brew called Cold Cock Winter Porter. Canadian listeners in the chat room, again, I would like to know if you guys know the answer to this one. Bunch of blank faces here, Daryl. Go ahead, Schumann.
I know one. Moosehead?
Not Moosehead, no.
Labatt's.
Not Labatt's. It's a tough one. It's Big Rock Brewery. Big Rock Brewery.
That one.
Isn't that interesting? Cold Cock Winter Porter by Big Rock Brewery. I like that.
They can
Daryl,
advertise that.
I'm going to
Cold
give you
Cock by Big
control of the
Rock.
board. Go ahead.
What do we got left?
You got 100 points for what's beer got to do with it, a couple in beer advertising, 3 in Brewery Me.
I guess what's beer got to do with it? We'll polish off that one.
All right, we'll clear out that round right now. To whom did Anheuser-Busch send the first case of Budweiser beer produced after the repeal of Prohibition in 1933? He sent them a case of beer after the repeal of Prohibition? It was a person. Who did he send it to?
A president?
It was, but I don't know.
Yeah, the president.
Dr. Scott?
Let me do the math here.
I got it. It's checking his history book.
Yeah.
Checking it twice.
I'm going to say Roosevelt.
Roosevelt is correct. That's another 100 points for Dr. Scott.
I had to do the math on that one.
You had to count back Reagan.
No, I knew he was in for 4 terms, and I knew when he died, and I had to go back to see if he was the president or if it was still Cleveland.
Roosevelt is correct. Doc, I'll give you control back of the board.
What? Okay, let's go to Brewery Me for 200.
200, okay. Who's in the lead right now? What are the two scores, Nathan? What do we got? Dr. Scott's in the lead, and Daryl is second? And with 700. What's the third place? And has John been on the board yet? No. John is not yet on the board.
Come on, Johnny.
I'm horrible at this.
This brewery is owned by Fritz Maytag, scion of the famous washing. Oh, I think that was Dr. Scott ringing it. Daniela, was it Doc? You're going to say John? Okay, John.
We'll give it.
John, go ahead.
Anchor Brewery.
That's correct. Anchor Brewery in San Francisco, right?
Correct.
Anchor Brewery, owned by Fritz Maytag. John, that gives you control of the board.
I've been there.
And you have 200 points now, my friend.
Yeah!
Go ahead.
Brewery Me.
Brewery Me for 100 or 300?
300.
Going for the big one. Okay. Where is the oldest brewery in North America?
Oldest brewery?
In North America. So that's not just the United States for you geography non-buffs. Oldest brewery in North America.
You want the country? City?
City.
Schumann.
Go ahead, Schumann.
I'm going to guess Mexico City.
Incorrect. Incorrect. I'll accept country here real soon if nobody knows the city.
Canada.
There you go, Daryl. It was Montreal, Canada, actually. Montreal, Canada. That's 300 points for Daryl. Daryl, and that gives you control of the board. You have 1 category left in Brewery Me and 2 in Beervertising, either 200 or 300.
Brewery Me.
Okay, we're clearing out that category. What was the original name of the Anheuser-Busch Brewing Company? The original name of the Anheuser-Busch Brewing Company. I'll give you guys a hint. It was started by a German.
Schumann.
Go ahead, Schumann.
I'll guess Anheuser.
Incorrect. Dr. Scott.
Augustus.
Incorrect. It's not the name of the guy, but maybe where he was from. Okay, it's Bavarian Brewing or Bavarian Brewery. It was called Bavarian Brewery before they became Anheuser-Busch. That's when Adolf Anheuser, I guess, linked up with his father-in-law and it became Anheuser-Busch. So there you go. I like that his name was Adolf. I think that's funny. I don't know why, I just think that's funny. Who had control before that? You did, Daryl. You have either Beervertising for 200 or Beervertising for 300.
Go for 200.
Okay, he's going for the 200. The slogan is, the champagne of bottled beers. Schumann, you should know this. You drink shitty beer. I mean bad beer. The champagne of bottled beers. I know that was their slogan.
Champagne.
Schumann.
Go ahead, Schumann.
I'll guess Coors.
Not correct.
Was he close?
Yeah, I don't know.
Come on.
Take a stab, guys. The champagne of bottled beers. Go ahead, Doc.
Miller.
Be more specific.
Miller Genuine Draft.
Be more specific. It is Miller. Go ahead, John.
Miller Genuine Draft Light?
No, it's not Genuine Draft. Daryl, it's a Miller. You want to take a stab?
Charcoal filtered.
It's Miller High Life.
Oh, Miller High Life.
Yeah, Daniela, do we want to give it to Doc for getting Miller?
No.
No?
He's got enough points.
You're not giving it to me, you're giving it
Daryl.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to help out the chat room there. It's Miller High Life. Okay, Daryl, the last category. It's Beervertising for 300, and here we go. This one's easy, guys. Head for the mountains.
Schumann.
Go ahead, Schumann.
Coors.
No. Yeah, it was. I thought that too, but it's devious. Head for the mountains. They had lots of cool commercials with hot chicks and stuff.
Bush.
There you go, Daryl. Bush is actually the answer. It's Head for the mountains of Bush. And that's another 300 points for Daryl. So what's our final tally then? We got another 300 for Daryl right there. Daniela, please tell us who our winners of the first round are.
So the losers of the first round are Schumann with 100 points, but he did quite well. I'm proud of you, Schumann.
Yeah, 100's pretty good.
Followed by Brewcaster John with 200 points.
200 points. You
And
barely squeezed above Schumann, John, and I'm glad you did.
by 1/10 of a second.
And then second place, so qualified for the finals, is Dr. Scott with 1,200 points.
Oh, second place, really?
And Daryl has 1,300
Yeah,
points.
he just smoked me on the last question.
Yeah, you just squeezed through with the last one, Daryl.
Congratulations, Daryl.
Okay, so you have now won the beer and more beer T-shirt. Plus, you're advancing to the bonus round, which we're just going to do right now.
Okay, go.
Okay, the bonus round
Do
now.
we have cool music for it?
I don't.
Oh,
What's love?
I know. I wanted to play that, but I don't have
That's
that
cool
song.
music.
I don't have Tina Turner yet. I'm going to do a fully produced thing for this game next time.
I'm
Where
gonna
it's
do
got
karaoke.
intro music
Okay.
and like timeout music. I'm going to do all of it, so don't worry. Hang in there. Okay, so Daryl, are you ready for the bonus round?
Go for it.
Here's what you're going to do. It's between you and Dr. Scott. You both start out clean. You both have 0 points here. It's one category. It's a miscellaneous type category, and it's tough. You still have 100, 200, 300, 400, and 500. I'm just going to start at the top and begin reading the questions. The highest score at the end wins. So, Daryl, you could double up on your prizes here. You could end up with a B3 gift certificate and the T-shirt. Otherwise, you're going for the B3 gift certificate for Crotch Rod if Dr. Scott wins. All right, here we go. The first question in the bonus round, Dr. Scott's winding up his bell, Daryl, so you get ready. When champagne and stout are mixed for a drink, what is it called? It's a mixed drink. Mixing.
Snake bite.
It is not a snake bite, although you're in the same
He's
family.
close.
You're in the same family. Champagne and stout. Dr. Scott, you want to take a stab?
No.
Okay.
He's Beer Morbider's dentist.
Do you know it, John?
I have no clue.
Black Velvet. It's called the Black Velvet. So nobody gets the points for that one. The 200-point question. Which beer was given the very first international trademark? Dr. Scott.
Bass.
Bass Ale. That's correct. That's 200 points. Did you know that, Daryl?
Yeah, but I was slow.
A little slow.
It's that Imperial Stout.
Tough when you put on the spot, yeah. Okay, for 300. During the Middle Ages, which country did most of the Trappist beer come from?
Belgium.
That's correct. Belgium. Nice work. Daryl, you know your stuff.
I
300
thought it was
points
a
for
trick question. I
Daryl.
was going to go for Belgium. I thought it was a trick question.
That puts you ahead 100 points. The 400-point question. The German term Bock translates to what? Dr. Scott.
Goat.
Goat. That's correct. You often find the goat on the labels of Bock
Dr.
beers.
Scott has a goat.
Okay, what are the
I have
scores?
a
Because
goat.
this is the final question. 600 to 300. Dr. Scott has 600. Okay. Daryl, with this 500-point question, you could win both rounds. Are you ready?
Ooh.
Go for it. Yep, I'm ready.
Bring it home.
It's a tough one. The British Royal Navy replaced its sailors' rations of beer with what alcoholic beverage in 1655?
Grog.
Not correct, unless I'm misinterpreting what that is. It's not correct.
It's a rum mixture.
I'll give it to you. Rum is the answer. It's actually, they replaced it with rum.
Wow.
They mixed rum with lime.
Well done.
Okay, there you go. Because they had just conquered, I think, Jamaica or something, and it gave them like an influx of rum or some ridiculous thing in 1655.
Sweet.
Daryl, wow!
He sweeps it.
Yeah.
The listener cleans house and swept both rounds.
Yeah.
You won $20 to beer and more beer, and a T-shirt
Cleaned it up
from
at
beer
the end.
and more
Sorry,
beer.
Crotch Rot.
Nice work, Daryl.
Excellent.
All right, cool. Hang on the line because Danielle is going to take down your information, and we'll get that stuff out to you as soon as we can.
Alrighty.
And thanks for playing. We totally
Thanks.
appreciate it. All right, we'll see you.
What's
There you go.
love?
Wow.
Sorry.
No, that's all right, John. I need
had
a
to
little
kill that space.
I need a little sing-songy. Okay. So that game was a little bit tougher. Nobody answering all the questions before they even got finished.
I'm horrible at trivia.
I like that our caller won it though. Chat room, sorry you picked Schumann for one.
Sorry that I'm
and
here.
for that matter, sorry you picked John. But
Come back.
those
I'm
of you,
feeling it.
Dr. Scott, you gave a nice run for it. You barely lost in that
Well,
last
I
round.
thought that Belgian question, the Trappist one, was a
Yeah.
trick question because you're
Really?
famous for that. And I started to shake. And I go, no, he didn't. Don't worry.
Right.
He,
You know, I thought
that's
about
400 points or 300, 400 points. You
Yeah.
were going to trick me.
it was a big question.
You're going to trick me.
It was
on
a big
that.
question. I thought about making you guys lose points for ringing in and giving wrong answers, but then I realized that the questions were pretty tough, and then I thought nobody would answer any of the questions.
Yeah.
Besides, it's too much math.
Yeah.
And I also think Aaron should get a runner-up prize.
for picking Schumann, you know what? If we had one, I would give him.
You got a heart of gold, Aaron. I
We should
appreciate
probably have
that.
a last place prize.
We should.
The turtle prize.
All right, thanks for playing in the chat room. Sorry we didn't get you guys. We're going to take a short break, and then I think we're going to begin our Wort discussion. You guys down for that?
Let's do it.
Okay. What am I playing here? A little bit of Verve. We'll be right back. It's the Brewing Network.
You're listening to a bunch of guys talk about beer. The Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
All right, welcome back, and what a good game that was.
Yes.
I'm glad our listener took the cake share.
Cheers to Daryl.
That was nice. And with that...
I'm glad the stress is over.
Oh, that was awesome.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm drinking Beck's today, and Beck's is a little
carbonated.
gassy.
It's got a lot of carbonation.
A little sharp.
You know what we're going to do next week, I think? We're going to have a listener burp competition. That's who gets the prize next week. You got to call in and give us a nice one.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like all show long. So you can call in just at random next week and give it, you know, if anybody wants to test it this week, call up and give it, you gotta like hold on to the thing while you're dialing and then wait for us to put you on the air. If you want to do a test run this week, I think that'd be fun.
I'll bring my 4-year-old and he's amazing.
Okay, nice. And then we're gonna have a listener burp contest next week, all throughout the show, and then we'll judge the best
What do you mean
one.
all throughout the show?
Well, I mean, just call, as we're having our discussion, call in at random, and the best one by the end of the show, we'll judge all of them, gets the prize next week. I think that's what we're
Should we have a judge sheet made out of her?
I think it'll be fun, because burping's an important part of
Can we get microphone
beer.
screens
More
for that?
Yeah, please. All right, so good job in the game, everybody. Let's move on to our Wort discussion. And actually, just real quick before we do, our chat room's awesome today. Bunch of people in there hanging out and doing cool stuff. So if you guys have questions from there, as usual,
Chat it up, baby.
Type them to Daniela or call 888-401-BEER.
And you can be on the radio too.
That's right. You can ask us your questions, or you can just burp at us. That'd be cool too. Okay.
There should be a dial-in for the trivia.
But no verps.
Yeah, no verps. Those are fake.
No, verps are vomit for burps.
Oh.
We get some chunks too.
Oh, nasty.
Yeah.
All right. So we want to talk about wort, but we don't want to talk about the production of wort. We want to talk about post-boil wort, basically, from the time that you turn off the flame. Although we're not, we want to exclude questions about wort before that, but we want to talk about the process, which I think is often looked over too quickly, between turning off the flame on your wort and pitching your yeast. Because besides just sanitation, there's a lot of things that go on there and a lot of different techniques that you can do to make your wort a healthier and more productive wort for your yeast.
And less off flavors.
Less, exactly.
Right.
So let's get started by talking about hot break, which I know comes from the boil, but it sets us up for our cold break, which is what's supposed to come right after the boil. So, Dr. Scott, give us a brief overview of hot break.
Hot break is the coagulation of the proteins in the wort. And they will coagulate by denaturing them with the heat. If you look in the rolling wort, you're going to see something that looks like kind of egg drop soup.
Yes.
And it's like kind of floaty guys that are just churning around in there. And that's the denatured proteins from the heat, and they kind of just glom together.
Okay.
And that's basically what it is for the hot break.
Okay.
And a full rolling boil is what you're going to get to. That it clears the wort. It kind of gets these proteins just to hold themselves together like egg whites in a soup. And then we'll deal with them later.
And you need a strong and a very effective hot break is the best thing you can do for your wort, because you're isolating those proteins for what need to be done.
Right,
later.
because it will be carried. If you don't do that, the proteins are very small. Well, on a molecular basis, they're very big, but in beer wise, they're small unless they're coagulated together, and they're hard to get out of the finished beer, and they will contribute to bad things later on, like most likely chill haze and early staling of the beer.
Is that why you boil? To break down the larger proteins from
There's a lot of things that go on in the boil. We could talk about that all hour.
Okay.
There's a lot of things. Let's just stick with the hot break.
Okay.
And we're trying to, get the lipids and the proteins to help clear the beer, basically.
Okay.
One of the many things that we do to end up with cleaner tasting, clearer beer
is to break up the lipids and the proteins.
It's actually to kind of get them out of solution.
Okay.
And you're actually making them in clumps. You're clumping them by denaturing. Denaturing is like when you cook an egg. That clear runny stuff, that's the white part. When you cook it, you're denaturing those proteins, and they glom together, and they make the white part of the egg yolk, or the egg white, and that's what you get out of that.
Okay.
And it's a lot easier to separate them out of the liquid.
Okay.
Then we'll get into the cold break after that.
Right.
And it's all about separating that kind of stuff that you don't want in your finished beer.
Okay. I have a question about it, which you may have already answered, but I want to be specific. I first learned about hop break from John when I had already brewed a batch myself, and then John invited me to go brew all grain with him and watch how he does it. And he talked to me about hop break and how important it is, because I didn't know what all those things churning in the wort were.
Where did it all come from?
Yeah, because it does really change, when,
does.
and I was really interested, and he gave me a basic, an overview of hop break and told me what it was and proteins and, well, now, so I really go for a good rigorous boil as much as I can, not only to get hop utilization, but because I understand now that I need that hop break.
The nice rolling boil.
Yeah.
If you notice at the beginning when you just first sparge into your kettle, it's kind of cloudy.
Yes.
And after about 10, 15 minutes of the nice rolling boil, you've got more clear, a lot of foam on the top, and you're more clear, and those egg whitey looking things just churning around in there.
Right.
That's why some people do longer boils too.
To get rid of more things, right? Mm-hmm. And you've got me doing that as well, John.
Yeah, 30 minutes without.
Yeah, I actually do a 1.5 hour boil, and I never add bittering hops and for that first half hour. I boil it.
Yeah, there's quite a school in that about not adding, don't throw in your hops as soon as it starts to boil.
Right.
10 minutes, I've heard, 15 minutes, just to get things coagulated and get some of the coagulated proteins. Otherwise, a lot of your alpha acids and things are going to get kind of sucked into all that, too.
Okay.
You're going to lose some of what you're trying to get.
Well, I do know that my beer improved quite a bit when I moved to a 1.5 hour boil.
Good.
It was a drastic change.
Clearer, or?
It was a drastic change. Much clearer, yes. I got much clearer beers. And just a more of a crisp taste in general out of it. My question, though, is in my rolling boil, I will not only get the foam on top, but a film that actually sort of extends past the foam. That you can move the film with a spoon. It's an egg yolky, white looking film.
Yeah, I spoon that out of there. I don't like it in there.
What is it? I spoon it too. But you can, it'll actually stay put as the boil rolls underneath it. That film will stay put.
Yeah.
It just seems mine, it seems to just kind of all go to one side, and I just use a spoon and
you skim it.
I skim it.
And it's just protein break.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right. All right. I skim it too. I get rid of that. So if
some people do, some people don't.
Some of that's good for fermentation too. So
there'll be enough of stuff in there.
It's always in solution.
It's there. I don't want it there. I feel better about taking it out.
My first few brews, I didn't. But once I started doing the 1.5 boil, and John had mentioned to me you could if you wanted to, I went ahead and started spooning that stuff off.
Right.
So, okay, a couple questions from the chat room I got here. Why don't we keep with the basics? Where does the word wort come from? Do we know that?
We don't want to answer that, because that's going to be on next week's.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right? Okay. That's next week's discussion? Yeah. Where does the word wort come from? Okay. So you have to wait. Tune in next week. It's a to be continued question. Do you have any comments? A lot of our guys are hoppy guys. Any comments about first wort hopping? I think we've discussed it in brief before, but what do you guys think about that? And what is first?
About that before.
What is first wort hopping? You're just talking about
bittering
hops
before
right when you sparge.
Right.
There's mash hopping and there's first wort hopping. First wort hopping is you're sparging into your kettle, and it's 158 or whatever it is. You throw your hops in then. There's good research on that. What you're going to get is you're going to let a lot of the, not so much the bittering stuff, but more of your aroma and flavor things have a chance to actually dissolve before they volatilize off.
Okay.
If you throw something like your hops into a boiling wort, all it does is it just boils right off, and it doesn't stay where it's put. But at a lower temperature, it gives it a chance to actually dissolve and turn into something else and stay in the liquid. And then as the temperature goes up, it's already solubilized and it's in there. So you're going to get some extra added benefits from your flavor and your aroma. You're going to preserve that early on,
right?
And it'll make it through the boil.
Okay.
And you'll get a lot more smooth kind of flavor and aroma things. And it's a big arguing kind of.
Wouldn't mash hopping though actually leave some of that behind because it's going to be filtered out through the grain bed?
But that's not mash hopping. That's first wort hopping.
But you said that mash hopping and first wort hopping were the same thing.
No, they're not. Mash hopping is you actually put the hops in the mash.
But couldn't that be considered first wort hopping?
It could be. It could be.
But when you get a different flavor threshold from the hops if you did mash hopping versus first wort hopping?
Well, you're looking at, when you're first wort hopping, you're trying to get more of your late hop addition things to stay in there.
Okay.
Or if you put it in when it's already boiling, like you would for your bittering hops, all the smell and all the flavor stuff just goes away
in the steam.
But when you put it in at 158 and you leave that in there as the temperature goes up, it gives it a little while for it to actually dissolve before it starts to volatilize off.
So would you subtract that amount of bittering hop from your first bittering hop as it starts to boil then, or would you just consider it an entirely different hop addition and going for a different quality than bittering?
Make it part of my flavoring.
I would probably add it into the bittering because it's going to be there through the whole boil.
Right.
And the alpha acids aren't just going to go away. They're going to get up to the boiling temperature. They're going to isomerize, and they're going to dissolve in there and give you more bittering. So I would add that in.
Okay.
And if you're a hophead, what the hell? Just do it. Just do it.
Do it.
More's more.
Yeah.
My hops are looking great out in the backyard, by the way.
It's hot.
And they're small because I didn't get a trellis to let them get as tall as they are. Had I done so, I would have a ton of hops, I think, this year. But the small amount of vine rather that I do have growing hops, man, they're big and beautiful.
What variety are they?
You know, that's a funny thing.
He's planning them with too many beers in his gut.
One of them is Willamette, and the other one's Cascade.
Okay.
But I don't know which is which because here's what happened. I put them in the pots, right? And I said, okay, go inside and get a piece of tape now and put which one is which. And I went inside and the phone rang. And I got on the phone and, by the time I got off the phone, I think it was Daniela from Germany or something, so I was on the phone for a little while. By the time I got off the phone, I didn't remember which one was which. So,
I did that with my Hefeweizen starters.
You didn't know which starter
Well,
was which?
I had them labeled on my first turn, and then when I stepped them up the second time, I got to remember to put the tape on these, and I went and answered the phone, and I came back and I fixed them anyway, and
turned out
fine. I labeled them, brew 1, brew 2.
Lufa in our chat room put pictures of his hops up there too, and they're looking awesome also. I encourage other people. He's always putting pictures up there. I encourage other people to help him out and put pictures of yours. I don't have my digital camera action working yet, so Lufa, I'll put pictures of my hops maybe this week.
I have 4 growing right now.
You
and
do?
The saws never took off. Now that I moved it with more sun, they're taking off more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sun, they love
Solid Tower Willamette.
You're not talking to
I love
them.
them. I give them lots of water.
I talk to them all the time.
Do you hug them?
No, but I
rub the leaf on their cheeks.
I pet them. I do. I name all my plants. I talk to all my plants. I'm a freak like that. Okay, this question we sort of answered. We could give a very brief and concise answer to what's the benefit of boiling 90 minutes instead of 60 minutes. You're getting rid of more impurities, and you might get more protein break.
A lot of off flavors will actually boil off, so especially from the proteins. Boil off.
Yeah, we can get into
protein precipitation.
The DMS will boil off more.
Okay. A couple questions I want to
certain
hold off on.
base malts actually produce DMS?
Yes.
German pills.
Generally, the lighter base malts are what's going to get it. They have the part of when you're germinating your malt. You're going to have the precursor to DMS, which is SMM, S-methylmethyamine, and it's just part of germinating in the malting process.
Right.
But that will go away at the higher kilning temperatures of like even ale malt.
Okay.
But your lager malts and things are going to have a lot of SMM in them. So that's why your lagers have a lot more DMS in them, and there's ways to get rid of that, which is a longer boil is one, a vigorous ferment is another one.
Okay. Sweet.
Okay. A lot of our questions are moving on to the later part of the word, which I want to do now also.
Okay, sure.
So, our hot break is done, and we now need to chill our wort as fast as possible, I think is the general rule.
Chill.
Am I right? We
Yes.
need to,
Yes.
and there's
Cold
various, there's various ways, to chill your wort. And then, am I right in that what we're going for when we chill our wort is a cold break?
Cold break, right.
And is it also to get it down to fermentation temperature as quick as possible?
Yes.
Or does that not, that is part of it too? Because you want to begin fermentation as soon as you possibly can.
There's a lot of reasons for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And most of them having to do with bacteria.
Yes.
Okay.
Most.
And other things. We'll talk about all of it. Okay. So let's go ahead and start then with wort chilling. And let me start with a question. It's a very basic, it's the beginning thing. If you're brewing on a stove, so to me this is a valid question. I'll answer it myself first, and then hand it over to you guys. If you're brewing on a stove, you need to take your kettle and either move it to a sink or move it to your chilling device after that. If you're brewing outside on an all-grain system or something, then you're probably going directly to your chiller. But the question is, when you're cooling your wort, is it necessary to cover your brew kettle?
Yes.
And I say yes as
yes,
well.
Definitely.
Here's what's happening. When you're boiling your wort, you don't have too much to worry about, if anything, as far as bacteria, because they can't live in those sort of temperatures. No. And even still, there's a temperature in between that's the most volatile, because when you get to the colder temperatures, you again don't have to worry as much.
Right.
The very hot temperatures are where you don't have to worry at all, so by all means, boil with your lid off, and it's going to get rid of a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Other people like to boil with their lid on, maybe to keep that.
You don't want to do that.
Don't want to do that.
You're saying no, absolutely not on that. Okay.
Doc helped me out with that one a few years back.
I don't do it either, but go ahead. Tell us why you don't want to boil, just to briefly.
One of the main things you're trying to get rid of is your DMS, and that you get rid of in the steam.
Okay.
And that's just part of the malting thing. You've got it in there, and you want to get rid of as much as you can. With the boiling, the steam will do that. You got a few other things that'll go away too. Mm-hmm. And if you cover it, you're not going to get it. It's going to keep going back in there. And in the finished beer, you're going to get a lot of that cooked corn, all the way to maybe even rotten eggs smell.
Okay.
And so having the lid off while you're boiling is what you want to do. A vigorous boil and to get rid of stuff. That's just one good part of the boil. The boil does a lot of things. But the main thing what we're talking about right now is getting rid of the DMS.
Okay.
This off flavor is going to come through.
Okay.
What about proteins, when they precipitate off, what they can add? Because sometimes I've had beers have a soapy flavor. Mm-hmm. And if you were to boil with the lid on, wouldn't that just fall all right back into your boil and potentially add a flavor to your beer?
Proteins won't boil off. We're trying to coagulate them. We're trying to get rid of the proteins by coagulating them and dropping them to the bottom.
Okay.
Those are too big of molecules to go off.
Okay.
Mostly it's the DMS trying to get off there.
Okay.
You were talking about the danger temperature.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get to. So,
right.
Well, let's just say then, definitely boil with your lid off. As soon as you turn off the flame, put your lid back on, because now you're gonna start to chill your wort, and we'll talk about the methods to do that. And in between, you're gonna get to that danger temperature, which is, go ahead, Doc.
It's 90 to about a 147.
I thought even the 80s is a very volatile point.
Well, you got to get it below 80 to pitch your yeast.
Okay.
But about 90, that's when your bacteria are going to take off. They like it there.
They can live there. They can multiply there.
Right. You're going to have bacteria in there anyway.
Okay.
But by the time the ferment takes off and the yeast drops that pH down, then the bacteria aren't going to take hold.
Okay.
If you let it stick around for a while, there'll be enough bacteria to colonize.
Yes.
You'll end up killing them. Or later when the wort temperature or the wort pH goes down and the temperature goes down, but there'll be enough of them to throw off some bad flavors.
Okay, and
you can get a DMS flavor from bacteria. They take a different precursor DMSO and they'll turn it into DMS.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
it's almost the same, but it's much more pungent.
Right,
and so you just don't want to let them have that chance to grow enough buddies to throw in that. The DMS has a pretty low flavor threshold. It's parts per billion.
Okay.
And it's 30 parts per billion, and that's not much.
Okay.
It's acceptable up to about 60 parts per billion in lagers and things. You kind of expect it. It's like people just think it's that lager flavor.
Okay.
And after that, it starts getting kind of nasty.
And buttery and...
It's kind of gets that rancid kind of thing going.
Okay.
But you just want to get rid of as much as you can.
Okay. So here...
But 2 ways to get DMS. Bacteria...
Okay.
And not enough boil to get it out of what's already in there.
Okay. For example, not uncovering your boil.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you want to burn that stuff off.
Right.
So here's where you're talking about chilling your beer as soon as you can because here's the deal with wort. You're not going to get a bacteria-free wort, but you're going to minimize the amount of bacteria that can multiply in your wort. And that's why you want to get it down past that volatile point that Dr. Scott just talked about as soon as possible.
That's why you shock it, right?
That's why you
basically.
Well, when you shock it down, you're going to get the cold break. And the proteins, you shock it fast, the proteins will coagulate and drop out.
Right.
Another reason to cool fast, if you cool slow, leave it overnight kind of thing.
Yeah.
Another bad thing is when it's around 150 or up there, the heat is driving forward the DMS reaction.
Right.
From the SMM to DMS. But you're not boiling it to drive it off.
Right.
So if you drop that temperature quickly, you're not going to drive that reaction forward and make extra DMS that you don't have a chance to boil off.
Okay.
So by dropping it fast, the reaction doesn't go through, and you're already down cold, and it won't drive forward with the heat.
Okay.
But if you just let it slowly over hours cool down, you're going to get that cooked corn feel.
Gotcha.
Smell and taste to it.
So there's a lot of chemical reaction taking place between turning off that flame and pitching your yeast, and you want to guide that chemical reaction as best you can.
You want to shut things down quick.
Okay.
Otherwise, everything's kind of just slows down, but it keeps moving forward.
Should we mention what we use to coagulate the proteins together?
Yeah, what helps with the cold break. That's why we put in Whirlfloc and Irish moss. It helps coagulate the proteins and helps with your cold break.
In what way? What is Whirlfloc doing to help with your...
It helps coagulate the proteins even more, so they clump together and fall to the bottom.
Okay.
It's an aid in that.
Okay.
So it all helps. That and the cold really helps.
Okay. All right then. Before I want to talk, I've got some questions about methods to get it cold.
Yeah.
Let's
definitely do that.
But let's talk about it before we get to the methods. What all these methods are doing are getting you past a volatile temperature and facilitating cold break. So, as opposed to hot break, tell me what cold break is.
Basically, it's the same thing. You're trying to just clump together. There's a lot of protein in barley, and if you're doing wheat, same thing. You're trying to clump them together and get them out of the finished beer.
Okay.
If you don't, you'll probably get more chill haze. Mm-hmm. Chill haze itself just kind of looks bad. What it is you chill the beer, and when it's warm, it looks clear. You chill it, and it looks hazy. And when it warms up again, it goes away. Yeah. In itself, it's not too bad.
Okay.
It doesn't really taste, but there's compounds in the chill haze that will quicken the staling of your beer. So your beer won't have as much shelf life. Not that you really have to worry about that.
No, I don't.
But if you've got a beer that you want to age for a while, you really got to worry about that and get a good cold break to get as much of that stuff out of there as you can, and your beer will have a lot better shelf life.
Okay. All right.
Could those potentially add flavors long term if you were to bottle?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Things break down. There's more stuff to break down in there and combine and give off flavors.
And there's always proteins in a beer.
So you need it. You need it for head retention, and you need it for the yeast, lipids and proteins. And
lipids are the source through the cell membrane.
It's fats.
Right.
Yeah, and it's exactly. And the yeast need these things for yeast health, but like anything else, too much is not better.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
So, to facilitate cold break, I'm going to start with the very basic forms, and then we can move forward from there. So, how we're getting our cold break, and this is a question not only that I have, but someone in the chat room. I brew extract, and I brew on my stove. Okay. So, to chill my wort, I'm putting it in an ice bath in my sink.
That's cool.
The question here from the chat room is very basic. Is an ice bath useless? Do you need a chiller?
No. The thing with you're probably doing small. You're probably not doing 5 gallons on the stove.
No, I'm not getting a full 5.
Let's talk safety here for one thing. Is when you're brewing a small 2.5 gallon and you're going to add water to it or whatever, you can move 2.5 gallons around. You spill it on the floor, probably not going to kill somebody.
Okay.
When you move up to 5 gallons, you don't want to be moving that thing around.
Yeah.
So moving around into the water bath, that kind of thing. No, water baths are great.
Yeah.
It's probably better than floating ice in there or anything else. The water bath keeps it its own little entity. You're not adding stuff in there for more contamination or anything. But remember, just keep it with the small volumes.
Yeah.
You're not going to move your 10-gallon fermenter into the bathtub or something. You're going to hurt somebody.
Okay.
Just invest in probably an immersion chiller.
So if you've got more than a 5-gallon kettle, you're going to want to go
I would say even just starting with a 5 gallon. 5 gallons is almost 50 pounds. So
yeah, I'm real lucky if I'm getting 4 gallons. Yeah. So. In other words, it's evaporating down quite a bit, so I'm more like 3.5 gallons.
But if you don't have far to move it, great. But
and I'm moving it right there.
It's a matter of safety. 215 degrees, 212 degrees is going to
emergency room.
It's going to scorch somebody.
Okay, but here's the thing: is that an ice bath, if you are doing small amounts like that, it is going to chill your wort faster.
Yeah.
In fact, I get a pretty quick. I get it down to 80 real quick. Right. Here's what I do. So my basic methods: I'm going right to the sink, which I will fill with ice and water. And then as the ice sort of melts away, which it does real quickly, I have one of those sink attachments that you can kind of pull it out and move it around. gallon so you can spray your dishes. And I'll run that inside the water. So now I've got circulating cold water around my kettle, and I'm getting my wort down to 80 degrees within about a half an hour. It's real
good.
quick.
Another hint: put something under the kettle bottom so the water can flow under the kettle. You have a whole lot of surface under there just sitting on the sink.
Okay, right.
Put it up on something. Just on one side if you want,
Sure.
and it'll give you a whole lot more surface area to cool it down. That's how I cool down all my yeast starters.
Okay.
They go from the stove into an ice bath in the sink.
Gotcha.
But it's great. It's just a little bit not very safe when you get a lot of wort.
You got a lot of wort. Okay, so be careful if you're transferring 10 gallons and you want to use an ice bath. Although, if you can be safe, if you have a method that's not going to hurt you, yes, an ice bath is better than no. It's better than no chilling whatsoever.
But that's probably my choice rather than pouring it on ice. I've seen that.
Actually pouring it on ice?
Pouring it through ice.
Really?
I've seen it happen when I first started out. That guy was saying, yeah, that's the way I do it. Old guy showed me this. And he had a colander full of ice, and he just poured the hot wort right through that.
Okay.
And it worked.
Of course it works. But then you get hot side aeration, then your beer tastes like cardboard.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, I mean, you think it's cooling down that fast, but anything that temperature, you're going to get hot side aeration, get oxygen in the wort when it's hot.
Okay.
Not good.
Okay. All right, the next basic progression then in chilling your wort besides an ice bath is an immersion wort chiller.
Right.
So now you could do it with a 5-gallon thing. I think most people don't. You're talking more about your 10 gallons and above your 5 gallons.
5.
You could do it with a 5 as well. Okay.
They make small ones. You can make your own. It's pretty cheap.
Yeah,
if you're handy at all.
Copper tubing and some fittings.
Copper tubing, wrap it around something that will fit.
5-gallon keg.
5-gallon keg works good to wrap the tubing around. It's soft. You can wrap it around, or if your kettle is smaller than that, find something that fits in your kettle with the tubing and wrap it around that.
Okay. Gotcha.
You don't even need to, you can just slip the hoses over the end.
Okay.
And then use a couple of clamps on that.
Compression fittings.
Okay. And your idea here is that you're going to be running cold water through the copper tubing to chill the wort from the inside.
And it does chill really fast that way.
Okay. Okay. How fast are we talking? Could you estimate?
5 gallons. It depends on the tap water temperature. If you got really warm tap water, it's not going to go that fast.
15 minutes.
If that.
Okay.
About 10, 15 minutes. It's pretty good. And with a immersion chiller, you really get a good cold break.
Yeah.
Okay.
Better than counterflow.
Better than counterflow.
Yeah.
Okay. What I'm thinking, I'm going to upgrade to 10 gallons. I was talking to you guys about that because I need to. Because I need to. But when I do so, I'm going to switch to, I think, an immersion chiller. I think it's going to be a minimal cost for me to upgrade. I'll probably use a keg as a kettle, which I can get fairly cheap. And then I'm going to use an immersion chiller. I think then to get my cold break, because I don't want to be for the same reason you said about safety. I don't want to be carrying around this 10-gallon keg. It's a 15.5-gallon keg, but with 10 gallons of wort,
pounds.
Yeah, I don't want to be carrying that to my bathtub.
Plus the pounds of keg.
So I'm going to switch to immersion chiller from there. Okay, the next progression, and anytime you're dealing with mass quantities of beer here, you're talking about a counterflow wort chiller, correct?
Okay. Right. Not necessarily.
Okay, give me another one.
You guys make a one
before we move to
gallon.
that. Oh, an immersion chiller also.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I don't mean, but what I mean, aside from immersion chiller, the next step up is a counterflow wort chiller. Okay. And in a counterflow wort chiller, which you're generally using for larger volumes, although you could use it for smaller volumes just the same, because it's a great way to chill wort. You're passing through cold water in one direction, and you're passing your wort through the tube in another direction.
Right.
They're obviously separated. It's a tube within a tube.
Inner tube, outer tube. Yep.
Okay.
It's like a 10-minute transfer.
And that's quick. And there you're getting, I would, and I'm actually going to guess this, I'm going to venture to say, you're getting your cold break and your temperature drop as it's passing through the chiller?
But your cold break ends up in your fermenter.
You're right, that's the caveat.
Okay.
Is your cold break ends up in the fermenter.
Okay.
Which Jamil was saying 2 weeks ago.
He pulls it now.
Yeah, but he also says that he doesn't worry too much about that cold break in the fermenter.
For his ales.
Except for lagers.
Yeah,
okay.
With lagers, he lets it settle out, dumps it, and then he can...
Like what you were doing. You're transferring off of that.
That's what I'm getting rid of is my cold break.
That's what he does with lagers.
Okay.
He leaves it in...
I'm getting rid of both hop, sediment, and cold break, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And the counterflow has a lot of double-edged sword things.
Mm-hmm.
You get a lot... The cold break's going to end up in your fermenter instead of in the bottom of the kettle.
Mm-hmm.
You almost have to use a pump, unless you've got the kind of system where you totally can gravity feed it down.
Yeah, the guy did like 8 feet high. He gravity fed it.
Okay.
It's you can do it less than 8 feet high, but it's tough. It doesn't go through as fast.
Okay.
But that's one of the caveats. You kind of almost need a pump.
Your water going through the other side's easy, right?
Doesn't
Because your
matter.
hose
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah, that's just your
doing
hose
that.
pressure.
Yeah. But it's getting the wort
And you
through
can put a pre-chiller on that.
it. Okay.
Yeah, sanitization too is
Okay.
key issue.
Now, I'm glad you guys our question specifically from the chat room was, do you need to remove cold break before pitching? And that's a matter of preference of how you're
Brewer
brewing,
style.
because some people, I think, like Morgan, would say, you know what, I pitch with everything in there. I don't really care. When he was in here, he said, I pitch with some junk in there. And he dry hops with junk in there. He does the whole bit.
Yeah.
But again, like Jamil said when he was here, he doesn't care about it until he gets to his lagers.
Right.
You
The
know?
lighter beers are going to show flavors and things that are in there, so it
you
probably
want it clear.
Okay.
You know.
So if you're doing a darker, more of an ale, an IPA, something like that, you might not have to worry about your cold break so much. But when you're getting to your cleaner beers like a lager
or Kolsch or something that's just really delicate,
right?
do everything you can to get it clear as you can ahead of time.
Okay. And again, the way that I do that, and I do this with all beers, just because I like the clarity of it, and it's just a bit easier for me. I rack my wort before I ever pitch. So my wort's being transferred to the carboy, and then I'm waiting a couple of hours to get it all to drop to the bottom, getting that cold break to drop and all the hop sediment, and then I rack it again so that it's pretty darn clean by the time I pitch my yeast. But you don't have to do that. But if you want to, there's a method for you right there, just to rack before you ever pitch. Obviously, you want to be careful about sanitation.
Right.
Because anytime you rack, and Jamil was big on this, listen, anytime you're transferring your wort to anything, you're increasing your risk of contamination.
Yes.
And he also said you're always picking stuff up.
Right.
Whether or not that's going to show up in your beer, now there's the question.
You're sanitizing.
But you're always picking stuff up.
It's always there.
So
Sure.
Well,
just beware of that.
Yeah, there's different kinds of bacteria. Most of them that we worry about are pretty intolerant to the lower pH, the hops, and the higher alcohol. But there's other ones out there that are a lot more tolerant. So we just be real careful with it, and less transferring's better.
Okay.
Because we're sanitizing, we're not sterilizing.
Right. Right. You can't get it that way.
No.
You're just getting as clean as you can. And that's the awesome thing about wort, and again about this wort chilling, getting it past that danger zone. You're still going to have your bacteria in there. When you pitch your yeast and your yeast goes to work, yeast is strong stuff. And if it's healthy and it goes to work quick, it's actually going to dominate the bacteria that's in there.
Suppress it.
It's going to suppress it, it's going to kill it, it's going to do its job. So pitching as soon as you can
Big pitch.
is the
a lot
best.
of oxygen.
I've seen posts about people pitching like 2 days later, I think was the longest one that I saw. And that's a tough thing to do because, like we said in the beginning, your wort is not sterile. It doesn't matter what you do.
Right.
It's got things in it.
It's got bacteria in it.
You're allowing things to multiply then for 2 days. Technically they could be suppressed by the yeast when you put it in there, but you're really risking.
Well,
If it's cold even though too, if it's 40 degrees, bacteria can still survive and ferment
If they
Although
sugar.
don't like
not
it,
too many bacteria are down at 40 degrees.
But
I
you're
lost
gonna-
a Doppelbock at 40 degrees.
Is that right?
You're going to get bacteria in there anyway.
Yeah.
But when there's only a few of them in there, they're not going to have enough of them to give enough stuff off to have a flavor threshold where you're going to taste it. But you wait 3 or 4 days, they'll all multiply. They'll pump out what the bad stuff you're going to taste.
Okay.
Then the yeast takes over, drops the pH. Then they're not producing anymore.
But the waste is still
but
there.
it's already there.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good point. I didn't think about that too. They are producing things no matter what. They're bacteria.
But it won't up to a flavor threshold if there's only a few of them in there.
Okay.
But so that's why you pitch fast.
Right.
And then the yeast takes over, makes the environment more friendly to the yeast, less friendly to the bacteria, and then everything takes off. That's why they've been making beer for as long as they have before they even knew about what was going on.
Right. Right.
Probably using bacteria.
So, but if you can get that stuff cool into fermentation temperature as quickly as possible, I mean, if you can do it within an hour, within 2 hours, man, you're in good shape and
Get a
get that
chiller.
yeast working real quick. And a chiller's going to do
Get a
that.
chiller. And
Before
let's talk about sanitizing the chiller. Should we
Well,
talk about
hang
that
on
yet?
one sec. We got one more chiller that people want to know about. So, since we talk about all the other
the
ones,
Terminator?
a plate chiller. Yeah,
Like
which is like the Terminator.
Like the Terminator.
Anybody wants to know if
I
anyone
use
uses
one.
a plate chiller? You do use one now?
I'm at Bob Guider's house.
Oh, okay.
He's got a plate chiller.
But he's got the 50-gallon system.
Yeah, but it's still, it's
Yeah.
like a homebrew. We run steam through it for about half hour.
Okay.
And then we'll run PBW through it, but then we'll run actual boiling water all the way through it again.
Yeah.
And the reason that is, here's the deal with plate chillers, is that in concept they're a great chiller because of the way that they can cool wort, but you gotta worry about sanitation because you're traveling through a lot of open areas and a lot of nooks and crannies.
Yeah, and
they're basically plates that are all stuck together to allow the wort to pass through it. And it's a lot of crevices in there that can get bacteria.
Well, here's something to remember. The people I know that use a Therminator say it works really good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But remember what we talked about? It's a counterflow chiller.
Okay.
And what do we talk about counterflow chillers? Is the hot break or the cold break goes through it.
Exactly.
That's a lot of chunks.
Means just
and those
leaving
plates are
things there.
really small, really close together, and pretty soon I just kind of wonder about how much gunk you're going to have. You can't sanitize gunk.
Yeah, it discolors stuff too. I mean, if you leave protein break or a hot break or whatever, it'll just discolor.
And so the jury's still out on that Therminator. If you want to change it a lot, buy a new one.
Yeah.
But I wonder about the sanitation. You can sanitize something, but you've always said that you can't sanitize something that's dirty.
Okay.
And if it's getting clogged up with all that cold break, because the cold break, I know with a counterflow chiller, it just ends up all in my fermenter. It has to go through something to get there.
Have you had a problem with the person you brew with using the plate chiller yet?
I think our second batch was contributed to that, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, he said a big problem. They're not even talking anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but well, the Hellas was
Right.
brewed on that, so
It was,
went and
okay.
ran through that and it turned out fine.
Turned out fine. Okay. So basically they work awesome as far as chilling wort, but you really want to be careful.
You want to be clean from the beginning.
Yeah.
And they're
all the way.
and they're very small, which is kind of a nice gig to them too. The Terminators are really small.
It's tiny, yeah.
And for the people I know that use it, they love them.
Yeah.
I just wonder what the long-term ramifications of using it over and over
Right.
again are.
I was there when the guy, I think it was Matt actually who brought it in. Wasn't
Yeah, Matt loves
Okay.
his.
I was
Yeah.
there and he talked about how he sterilizes it with just running hot water through it, boiling hot water. He runs through it all the time. John just said that you'll do that plus hot steam. Right?
Yeah, I'll steam it before.
Steam it.
Then I'll PBW it.
Okay.
And then I'll do hot water to rinse the PBW out.
Gotcha.
And then I'll use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to go through all that trouble.
Yeah,
Doc, I got
that much
some.
volume.
Do you want some criticism about your statements from the chat?
Sure.
Although I'm not exactly sure which part they're talking about. But it's about cold break.
Okay.
And I'm thinking by the words they're using, they were talking about maybe they're running it over ice. Because it says you do not get outside aeration and the cold break settles in the fermenter. Which Dr. Scott did mention in his defense that you don't have to get rid of cold break,
No.
it settles in the fermenter.
No.
But I wonder if they're talking about the outside aeration as far as pouring it over the ice cubes.
No, it's been.
It happens at what, above 120?
Yeah, 120. Even if you pour your hot wort into your other water that's cold, it's going to get hot side aeration on it.
If this person wants to call in just to clarify, we'd
Come
love
on.
to talk to you. It's 888-401 beer. We don't mind. If you got outside input, that'd be great. 888-401 beer. You can call in and talk to us about that. Okay.
I'm actually upgrading my counterflow.
Are you really?
Yes. I am going to be whirlpooling while cooling. So I'm going to be transferring my beer out of my boil back into my boil kettle, dropping it from 212 to pitch temps at 80 with the lid on. So all my cold break there and all the settlement out from my whirlpool actually settle out.
Ah, right.
So instead of having it end up in my fermenter,
yeah.
I will be able to, I'll have it chilled at 80 degrees in my boil and pump it right in. And it'll already be sterile because I've already run hot wort through it.
Now, how you are you
Well, that's
going
what I
to
was
take
talking
it
about
from?
last week.
Yeah.
Are you going to take
It's a new
it from
thing.
your chiller and just put the tube back in the top
Right,
of your
and-
kettle?
No, through the side of my kettle, there's a little tube coming out
We
right
both
above
have
the
we
stick.
both have whirlpools in our kettle.
Yeah.
So we pump it
Right.
and we whirlpool it. And
Yeah.
a lot of times that'll get a lot of stuff to cone in the middle.
Right.
But it's still hot and we don't get the cold break to settle out like you would with an immersion chiller.
Okay.
So we'll pump it out through the counterflow back into our whirlpool. So it'll whirlpool until it just cools the whole thing down. That cone will be in the middle, hit a valve, and then it goes up into the fermenter.
Nice. Okay, we got the caller calling in now, so that might be
best way to do it.
the same person.
I'm curious.
Okay, some off-topic stuff. Unless is that our caller? All right, let's just take him real quick. Okay,
What should be Jamil?
go ahead. Caller, how you doing?
How you doing?
Who are we talking to?
I've run it through ice and everything over 16 years. Have never had a bad effect of it at all. I've also read in other books that outside aeration is a fallacy.
Okay, hang on 1 second. Hey, both of you, hang on. Who are we talking to?
Brewer of the month.
Oh, brewer of the month. Awesome.
Guest of the month. I'm sorry.
Where are you calling from?
Texas.
Okay, Texas. So you're talking about actually pouring your wort over ice, then, right?
Over ice, or in a bucket full of ice water. It does not hurt it one bit.
Okay. Doc.
This has been an ongoing argument for at least the last 5 years about hot side aeration.
Okay, but I know also won. I can understand this. I've also won second place in a nationwide competition with a beer. It was done just that way.
Okay.
What kind of beer was it?
What category?
It was actually more of a braggot is what I used.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. Now, just before even getting into that controversy, my question is, what about the water that's produced then from melting the ice? Are you just factoring in that you're increasing the volume of your wort as you pour on the ice?
Mm-hmm. Well, of course you're increasing the volume of your wort, but the thing is your water is not going to go any. It's the same thing as if you melt an ice cube in a glass of water, your level of water is not going to go up.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Second of all, you're going to need aeration in that wort in order for the yeast to be have enough nutrients.
After it's cold, you want to have aeration.
Yes, that's right. But it's going to be cold as soon as it hits that fermenter.
Well, oxygen doesn't go into solution above 80 or 85 degrees.
Yeah, but oxygen does not also go in the solution when it's hot either.
Okay.
But
Doc?
No, what it does is the oxygen combines with things in the wort that'll later break down, and then you'll have more oxygen later
but
in.
But what you're thinking of is maybe there's some impurities within the ice.
No, that's a whole different thing.
Okay. Although I would think about that.
No, that's a whole different subject, which we could cover too.
Yeah.
But most people that are doing the ice bath thing are pretty diligent about making sure it's clean ice.
Yeah. Where do you get your ice from when you do it?
I generally make my ice myself.
So you're using the same water you put in your beer anyway.
Exactly.
You're boiling it first and cleaning it up.
Boiled first.
That's fine.
Exactly.
That's not what I'm talking about. No, what I'm talking about is basically hot side aeration, which will cause other problems later on down the line. And it is a big argument that you get into a lot with people about, yes, there's hot side aeration. No, there's not.
Okay.
It was more heated about 2 years ago.
That's fair enough. Well, my question now.
I'm not saying it doesn't work what you're doing. There's plenty of people out there that do it and make great beer too.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious about it now. So I've never actually even heard of doing it. Are you just dumping it right on the ice, or do you sort of siphon it through a tube?
I've dumped it over the ice. I've dumped it straight into ice water.
Okay.
Okay. Now I use just a copper wort chiller now. But
you do, okay.
Right. I used to do it that way, and I did it that way for 10 years. Never had a problem.
Because I'm wondering if you're talking about aeration, Dr. Scott. If you ran a tube, say, to the bottom of the ice bucket so that it sort of went in gradually, it didn't get dumped and rustled and oxygenated, would you then reduce what you might be talking about with hot? You wouldn't anyway.
No, you'd be fine that way. It's just splashing it when it's hot.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay. So if you ran it straight to the bottom with a tube through a bunch of ice, you might...
if you cooled it below 80, or actually below, 120 probably, and then poured it over the ice, you'd be fine too.
Okay.
But okay, and the other part of the thing, what you're saying, all the time, even on light beers, I've even let the hot break just go ahead and go into the fermenter because it generally settles out with the yeast.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
The cold break, right? Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of times when I don't dump the conical. I just leave it in there.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of a preference between brewers. Jameel on his light ones likes to get rid of it, and others don't.
And he leaves stuff in there.
In other words, right.
And most of his other stuff, and I do too.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, when my Belgian triple's done, I'll send you 1.5 liter.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind if we taste it on the air and stuff?
That's fine.
All right. Cool. Send it to me.
Get his info.
When's it going to be done?
Well, I'm brewing it tomorrow.
Okay. All right, cool.
Okay,
I've got one in the conical right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's been in the conical like 4 weeks now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm using the sweet orange rinds. I'm using the coriander and all that too.
Nice.
I love triples.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a 1.5 liter Grolsch bottle. I'll send it in.
Please do.
That'd be cool. Hey, we really appreciate the call. Thanks for calling and giving us your opinion. We like that.
All right, not a problem.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.
That's awesome.
All right, cool. Well, so there you go. Somebody's.
I like that. You
some
know,
people doing
we don't
this.
know everything for sure.
Well,
so.
no, there's guys out there that have been brewing that way for a long time, and they've always had really good beers.
Well,
And you know,
But-
it's good to know.
Process too is key too. So everybody has their own process. So.
Right.
And that's what I think is good to know. You know, to take any process as the Bible is a mistake. You need to hear from people who are doing it different ways and their success and failures as well.
Sure.
So,
Well, if it was one way, we wouldn't have a radio show and we wouldn't be discussing it.
Right.
but I just, you know what, that's cool to call in anytime you guys disagree with what you're saying.
Please let us know.
We're not shy about putting you on the air.
Not
And
at all.
Oh, I don't have to agree with you.
That's right.
Yeah.
But, you
don't?
don't have to agree with me either.
Exactly. I just like you. I like it if you'd call in and just call Dr. Scott a jerk.
Actually, I told my brother to call and to listen today and just call in and call and maybe just give me crap.
Oh, by the way, that was Dr. Scott's brother on the phone right there. No, it wasn't. Yeah. But even if you just want to call in and say, hey, you're a bunch of jerks. That's fine by
We'll
us.
love it.
So, hey, thanks for the call. That's
And then
cool.
send beer.
All right. How about then send beer? That's awesome. I got some off-topic questions that came before we get back to it. Let's see. What are the guidelines, I guess right on topic here, what are the guidelines for oxygenation and how much is too much?
Okay, oxygen is good, oxygen is bad.
And
it's good at
time
sometimes.
frame.
It's
Anaerobic, right?
It's good
Or
at
aerobic.
sometimes it's bad at others. It's bad when things are hot. It's bad late in the fermentation. And let's get back into when to put it in. You want to put it in as soon as it's below 80. I like to do it when it's below 80 at pitching temperature.
Mm-hmm.
Get it in there as much. You can do it by shaking the carboy. That's just room air. You can do it by a Aquastone and a pump. You can put just pure oxygen in there.
Right.
Pure oxygen at 30 seconds with a aeration stone
Half micron.
will go in really fast. You don't need more than 30 seconds at it.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that after 2 hours, the yeast will eat it up in about, if there's a lot of big pitch, the yeast will eat it up in half an hour or an hour. That's what Chris White told me.
Okay.
Also, if the wort just sits there, the oxygen will dissipate in 2 hours.
Wow.
So it'll all just go away. So
Wow.
I always do at least 2 or 3 times, depending on the size.
Do you do it based on your gravity of your beer?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
You can do it at first. I do it 4 or 5 hours after that, and then up to about 8 hours. I'll do another one.
But once your aerobic's over with and it's beginning fermentation, you don't do it ever again.
You need it for yeast growth because they're trying to multiply. They need it for that. After that, you don't want them to do aerobic respiration anymore.
Okay.
You want them to go into anaerobic and start making ethanol.
Can over-oxygenation actually spawn like the growth of wild yeast? That might be. Because I think I lost a batch before because of that. I might have O2 too much. I had a wild yeast growth. Instead of ethanol being produced, I had water. And like this real silky kind of watery. It wasn't ethanol.
Did it taste like Band-Aids?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was...
It could have been just bacteria too, because bacteria will take it down way low. If you get a really dry beer and you can't understand why it's got no malt flavor, a lot of times it's just bacteria.
Okay.
Okay. Another off-topic question. If you smacked your Hefeweizen smack pack a little too hard and had to use Muttons Dry, would it still be a Hef or would it be a Wit?
Is it dry ale yeast?
This is a regular dry.
The American...
It just says
wheat.
Muttons Dry, so I think so. None of us use Muttons, so it's a tough question.
Well, it's a wheat beer still because of the malt bill.
Right.
But you're not going to get the banana and the spices off of that one. And you're not going to get a wit either because you need a wit yeast for that.
Okay. So you're going to get a little hybrid beer.
Or you're going to get a pyramid wheat.
Exactly.
Pyramid.
It's American wheat kit right there.
This is a good question because I've seen you do it, John. So I'll address it to you. Is there anything wrong with using oxygen in the little red tanks from hardware stores?
No, it's oxygen.
That's what you use, right?
Yeah.
I've seen you use those little.
I've seen that
tanks.
on the boards a lot. The forum boards about which oxygen is good, which bad. No,
O2 is O2.
It's fine.
It's all the same.
You might want to use a filter.
We use a HEPA filter.
There's little HEPA filters you can get. They're inline filters.
Okay.
And they'll take anything out of
$5 or something.
It's pure oxygen. It's fine.
Go ahead and use those. HEPA filter on your oxygen. You're fine. Is aluminum okay as a brew pot? And what materials for brew pots do you recommend? We've talked about this before.
Vaguely.
Go
There's
ahead.
an effect, though. Isn't it something in the metal that can potentially cause something in your brain? Or
No, you won't get much of that. That goes round and round.
Did you
too,
say
about
cause
that.
something in your brain?
Yeah.
to go wrong, I guess.
No.
Really? That if you brew in aluminum pots, it makes you nutty?
Yeah.
That's woo! I use aluminum pots. No.
The standard's always been no, don't do it. use stainless steel, or you can use porcelainized metal, like a porcelain spaghetti pot.
Okay.
But I have read stuff lately that says maybe brewing it isn't so bad, but you don't want to ferment in it.
Right.
In aluminum.
Is the deal that soft metals are going to release things within the beer? Is that the general consensus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just
The
don't want to be
oxides,
using
basically, because aluminum has an oxide layer on the
Be
top.
safe and use stainless.
Yeah, stainless steel is your best bet, I think, no matter what with brewing. But
tell your wife it's for the big chili cook-off you have once a year, maybe, or the big spaghetti feed.
Yeah.
All right.
You probably could use it for your mash tun or your liquor tank.
Okay.
I don't think that would hurt it.
You're not boiling.
You're not boiling.
It's the lower pH that does that. So
Okay.
if your water's fine.
Okay. All right. I think that about does it for our Wort, unless you guys got anything to add. Our questions are done. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and do our beer tasting. We have a listener beer, and we have Daniela's beer.
Ooh, let's do it.
You guys are excited about it. Danielle, I need you to get that beer ready.
See, I can't even make faces.
So she will be away from the chat
She'll see
room for
me.
a second. Before I take a break, someone in the chat room helped me out with my hops by saying that Cascade's going to smell like grapefruit, so I can probably figure out which one is my Cascade. It's going to
Very
smell
citrusy.
smell like grapefruit. Okay, so there you go. If you have more questions for Wort, 888-401-BEER, or keep chatting them into Daniela, although she's away for a second. She's going to get her beer ready. Other than that, we'll be right back, and we'll finish up. We're going to do a little tasting from Wayne's beer from Bug Eater Brewing, and Daniela's beer, which is exciting. We'll get her back on the microphone. And
what did she brew?
Talk about that.
She won't tell us.
She won't tell you.
Okay,
You're just going
good.
to have to wait. All right, we'll be right back. It's the Brewing Network. Thanks for staying.
You're listening to three guys with one microphone and 5 gallons of beer.
The Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
That was funky.
What, the taste?
That cue there.
That cue? I like that? That's right, a little funky. All right. It was naughty, even. All right, let's get back to the show here. We're going to wrap it up with some tastings. First, let's start with Daniela's beer.
I don't have her beer.
She has her beer. There's only one glass of it. She wants Dr. Scott to take the first taste.
how much
I don't
did
know
you
why,
make?
but she just... she made 5 gallons, but she only wants to give you a little bit. She's a bit... I don't know. She's stingy with her beer. What do you want? Could you give Daniela the microphone, please? Let's just make sure
Your
that...
dog's licking my knee.
I'm so excited.
Okay. So, this is the first beer that Daniela has brewed.
All right, Dr. Scott,
And,
you need to know I'm really proud of my work. It's the first time I ever brewed. I brewed with John. I helped brewing John one time, and we brewed a good beer, but this is my only, I worked on it myself. Justin did not help me whatsoever. He just gave me his equipment.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
He just loans his equipment.
I do that a lot.
and I want you to try too, John, please, after Dr. Scott.
Okay.
Well, let's think of what it looks like.
It looks good, huh?
It's awesomely clear. It's very pale.
Very pale
it's,
yellow.
Probably 2 to 3 SRM.
Yeah.
It's pale.
Extremely pilsy.
It's very pilsy. It's got the head just is staying with it. It's a little on the thin, light, lacy, but it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely clear. 3 points on that.
Yeah.
3 points.
She did.
But that's the maximum you can get for appearance.
She took some clarity pointers from the show. Yeah, she's been listening to the show. He's now smelling it.
I
to
don't
see
have
what
any aroma whatsoever.
no aroma whatsoever. It's that might
it's like I'm smelling water.
that might be why it's so light too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's extremely light.
Well, it's a light beer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it's
Okay.
that's just maybe
Okay.
It's not an IPA.
It's not an IPA. It's not one of mine. That's for sure.
No, there's no smell whatsoever.
Okay.
It smells like water. This is beer, right? No.
She hopes
Dr.
so.
Scott,
Come on.
No, it's not bad to not have a smell there.
I wanted a light beer.
You did.
It's light as a
For a
gift.
first beer,
Very
this
light.
is incredibly.
Yeah.
Just the looking at it is just killer.
Okay. Here he goes. The first taste.
He's trying it.
He's giving me a weird look right now. John, you want to taste it too? Doc, what's your
You like it, huh?
What's your impression? Yeah, John's tasting it now too. I think you have to give the mic back to John for a second to get his impression. He's just making a weird. Oh, you spit it back? John spit it back in the cup.
Why would you, Dr. Scott?
What does it taste like? Let me taste it.
That's okay. It won't make any difference.
Oh my God!
Oh my God.
You guys, why would you spit my beer back?
It tastes like bicarbonate of soda.
It tastes like foot water.
No, it tastes like Alka-Seltzer.
It's horrible.
No, it's not.
Okay. No, she didn't really brew that.
I was going to say.
We went to this trick store the other day that said, fool your friends with beer, and you just put like this little packet of stuff in a glass of water, and it says that it looks like beer, but it tastes like dishwater, which is about what it tastes like.
Yeah.
It really tastes like dishwater.
Oh.
And we just thought it'd be funny to do to you.
Yeah. I was impressed by the way it looked.
Yeah,
with a nice head on it, but no smell. That kind of tipped me off. And then the taste, it doesn't taste horrible. It doesn't taste like beer at all.
Daniela, you got to taste it. Now that you did it. Oh, you did try it? Oh, it's. I think it tastes horrible.
It tastes like an Alka-Seltzer.
It does.
That's like even worse than that.
Spritey, like orange shit.
All right.
The thing was, you know what? It's warm.
Yeah, it was warm.
No, I'm feeling the glass and it's warm.
We should have chilled some water first.
You should have.
I don't know. We just thought it'd be fun to do that.
That was fun.
All right, let's taste some real beer.
For first beer,
I
I was amazed it was so clear.
Yeah,
I thought it was the Hellas, actually.
No, it's even too light for that. It's the color of like Coors Light.
Yeah.
Probably.
Color of Schumann's favorite.
It's not even a Corona color.
Doc, by the way, didn't even bother responding after drank it. He just looked at me like I was a douche.
I was wondering what the hell you fed me.
So let me set
up I was thinking
this,
really bad things. Yeah. Let's pee in a glass and feed it to Dr. Scott.
We wouldn't do anything that bad. It's just some weird little packet. Doc and John are trying this beer right now. It came from Wayne Ferris from Bug Eater Brewing Company, which I think he's a home brewer. I think he just calls himself that. Let me set it up by reading what he sent to us.
You already set it up. You fed me dishwater.
With that terrible dishwater. First of all, he's just thanking us for the program. Keep up the good work. He's eagerly awaiting the arrival of Jamil's beer.
It's actually shipping tomorrow, so.
Okay. As promised, here are a couple of my beers, he says. They represent 2/3 of an experiment to compare the flavor contribution of different malts. He did a cream ale recipe of sorts for 3 batches. I used the same recipe and even pitched onto the same yeast cake for all 3, except that I changed one ingredient each time. The first, I used 1 pound of 60 crystal malt. The second, I used 1 pound of light Munich in place of the crystal. And the third, I used a pound of rye in place of the crystal. I have sent the Munich and rye versions for you to try. Although, I don't think it's labeled on the bottle. Let me check the bottle. Yeah, it is. You guys are drinking the Munich. Okay, so that's the Munich version right there. Which I haven't tasted yet.
Try it now?
The point here was not to brew the best beer in the world, but to merely compare flavor contributions. However, I found the rye version to be quite tasty and thought I might get your opinions. The crystal version was unremarkable. It was quite drinkable, but left me wondering if something better was around to drink. The Munich version was quite malty, but almost too malty, and somewhat reminded me of Bass Ale, but nowhere near as refined. The rye cream has really grown on me. To me, it seems a great summer drink. I have brewed Denny Kahn's rye IPA a couple of times, and I've fallen in love with the taste of rye in beers. This seemed a good malt to try in a cream ale. So he enclosed a copy of the rye version. And the other 2 are Crystal and Munich. So I think you guys are drinking the Munich, if the bottle is correct. And the other one we'll try is going to be the rye. He says he's got a brother who's a hardcore Bud Miller Coors drinker, and part of the experiment was to come up with a recipe for a homebrew that both he and I would like drinking. And he thinks he's done it with the rye. Let me take a taste here, guys. You're making weird noises over there, but go ahead.
Well, first impression, it kind of smells like grapefruit. It's got a lot of fruity character to it.
Yeah.
It's a little cloudy, My one thing that you were reading to me that makes me a little concerned about this beer is the fact that he transferred it 3 times between 3 different batches, I guess.
Which one was first?
He started with the one that he just did the crystal, 1 pound of 60L crystal.
Okay.
The second one he did on the same yeast bed, instead of the crystal, he used the Munich, which I think is what you guys are drinking. And the third, instead of the crystal, he used a pound of rye, which I think I have in the fridge. So this one, if I'm right, is the Munich. And by the way, Wayne, if you're there, go ahead and call in 888-401-BEER if you want to, and make sure I'm getting it right. I'm just reading the label on the back. It says Ken's Munich Cream. So
I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
It's sour. I think it's contaminated. And I think he ran into contamination issues when he was transferring from batch to batch on the yeast cake.
I'm getting that Band-Aid flavor.
Band-Aid, very medicinal.
I got that.
Sour.
I definitely have the citrusy taste, which I might be confusing with the sourness too. I'm wondering now. He sent this to us. What about the shipment sitting in a hot box for a few days?
That could be an issue. But even if you brew clean beer and you bottle it, it should still be drinkable.
Okay.
Even with certain temperatures.
Okay. Are you sure that Daniela's beer isn't just clouding your?
No.
Okay.
No, but I'm not going to forget that for a while.
Okay. There's another one. Schumann, would you do me a favor? There's another bottle that looks just like that in the fridge. Would you mind grabbing that for us so we can taste his other one also? Okay, so definitely citrusy. It's got that Band-Aid-y flavor there. What would you say?
Sprite, like orange Sprite.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Okay. And what do you think? Do you have any guesses of where that contamination maybe came from?
Dropping it on the yeast bed.
From the previous one?
Right.
You think the yeast then was contaminated? There was wild yeast in there?
Ideally, you want to use your secondary fermenter's yeast.
Not your primary.
Run out your primary.
Yeah, you want to get off the troop. And that's a big argument, too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Use primary or secondary. There's goods and bads of using both. With the primary, you got to have a lot of trubes still in it, and a lot of things that dead yeast that can break down. In the secondary, you're going to get the stuff that doesn't flocculate as well, which is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a very cloudy beer.
Right.
The stuff that's still up in suspension is the stuff that doesn't want to flocculate. Where all the flocculating guys are down in the bed, and it's survival of the fittest.
Right. So, do you think there are boiling issues in this, or do you think there was fermentation control issues, or all of the above?
All of the above.
Okay. Yeah, my guess is it was fermented pretty warm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very fruity beer.
It is very fruity. Yeah, I'm noticing.
Fruity. It's cloudy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not all one thing. It's drinkable.
After a few, yeah.
No, it's drinkable, but it could. There's improvement areas with it.
Okay, we're now pouring. Let's see if you hear clanking.
Yeah.
We're now going to try the rye, which is I think the third one that he did, according to this.
That one looks better already.
The one that you just
better.
tasted
it's still cloudy, but it's still looking better.
Okay, the one you just tasted was the Munich. This one is the same recipe, except that he replaced the crystal with rye. And let's give this one a go.
Now, the question is he doing all-grain or extract? Is he steeping that Munich? Is he steeping that crystal?
No, I think that's a lot better.
Well, I still get the fruitiness, the grapefruity thing coming through. What'd you say, Orange Crush?
Yeah, like Orange Crush.
But it's got a cool spiciness that goes. The rye. It comes from the rye.
That's a better beer.
That's the rye.
It's a better beer.
It's almost that spiciness is almost a Hefeweizen type of spice. I think.
Well, it pulls away from that Orange Crush sweetness.
And
it balances it better.
And I'm not tasting the medicine in this one either.
No.
I don't.
Well, the other one's kind of dry too. It almost just it's got that fruity kind of thing, but not the malt to back it up.
It's an interesting color on these beers. They even have a little bit of an orange color to them. Both of them, both the Munich and the rye. The rye is a lot clearer than the Munich one,
right?
But it's still got that orange. I can drink this beer. Actually, I don't mind. I like this.
It's a better beer. Much better. Yeah. Cool.
It's more crisp. It's drier, like you guys said. It's definitely the aftertaste. Definitely sort of disappears pretty quick.
It's a very dry finish.
Yeah, and this is the one.
My beer.
This is the one that he said he really liked too. Was the rye better than the other one?
What does Schumann think of it?
Schumann, did you try it?
He tried both of them.
By the way, Schumann's a Coors Light drinker.
Right.
Well, but he stretched
Coors
over.
Light
He had a Bud today too.
He had a Bud, yeah, and a Beck's. He had a Beck's also.
I like it.
You like this one?
Mm-hmm.
What about the first one he tried just before? You tried both, right?
Yeah, the first one was a little bit more flat, and it just had, like they said, a very sour taste to it.
Okay, but you like this one too?
I like it better, yeah.
I think this one would be changing some things on it, cleaning this up and that. This one has a shot to be a pretty nice beer.
That's what I was going to say to you, too. If I were you, Wayne, I would be brewing this one again on a different yeast bed than you used.
Yeah, use fresh yeast with a nice yeast starter. Try to control your fermentation temperature. The yeast don't like it when they're going up and down and up and down.
Okay.
Put it if you're using carboys and it's hot around. Put it in the bathtub. with a T-shirt over it to wick
Right.
it up, and that'll keep it pretty even for you. They don't really care what temperature they're at. We can get over that, but they don't like going up and down and up and down.
Right. But definitely stick with the rye.
This could be a great beer.
Yeah.
It's refreshing right now.
I even
It's
sort of
105.
I think in a more controlled environment, I even like the citrusy flavors that are coming off of this.
Right.
I think they just need to be maybe settled down a little bit. But I'm liking that citrus off of this because it helps out with the dryness of the beer. It just adds a little something to your mouth with it. So I think that, like Doc's saying, I think that's going to have a lot to do with fermentation as far as controlling that citrusy flavor.
Well, if you can control your fermentation from batch to batch, it's just healthier and wiser for you to do that because you can repitch, and at least you're consistent all the way through while you repitch.
Yeah.
You're not stressing it at 76 and 65, and then you get that funkiness in your next batch, and you keep rolling it over and over and over.
Yeah, it just cascades that way.
And you will never know. You can't fix it after time. So.
Yeah. So I guess bottom line, we're going to finish this one. We're not going to finish the first one.
No.
Is what's going to happen.
So work on this one.
Yeah, this is. I agree with you, Doc. This could be a good beer. Control that fermentation. Try it again.
I would even boost the malt bill a little bit. I would put some. I would get it a little bit. Start with a little bit more original gravity.
Well, I would agree as far as my personal preference for beer. Although writing that he was interested in trying to make a beer for the hardcore Bud Miller Coors drinker like his brother, I wouldn't boost the malt bill because I think you're getting there with it. It just needs to be cleaner and crisper.
Well, they won't like the rye then.
I think they like the dry
I think it's closer
that
to
comes
style
from
what
the
he's
rye.
going for.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's
I mean, if it were me, I agree. I'd boost that malt bill a little bit too.
You know what?
But going for that style, I think just clean it up.
Clean it up.
Use a fresh yeast.
Forget about them. Brew for you.
Brew for you.
And this could be a really nice beer.
Yeah. Okay.
I like this one.
Yeah. He's in the chat room. He's going to try the rye again with.
What was the original gravity on that?
This says I'm going to try the rye again with 1272 in the fermentation fridge. But I don't.
I don't know which way you said it.
You know what? I got his recipe right here. You're looking for his OG, right?
That's Cal 2, I think.
It's pretty similar fruitiness.
Yeah, I think it's
here.
White
you know how to
Cal,
read that better
Cal
than I do.
2.
Look through that and find his OG. I bet it tells you right there, or it might even say it on the bottle in front of you.
Pro Mash Man. Okay, cool.
It might even
1053.
1053 was his OG. Oh, that's not too. It's not small. It's not a low gravity.
I just think he has temperature control issues. And He didn't finish out dry. It's 1012 final.
I would keep the same recipe and clean it up.
Sure.
That's what I do. I wouldn't add the malt.
Did you add anything to the water? Looks like I can see your water profile here. You don't have enough calcium, so maybe add some. I would add some gypsum to this one.
It'll definitely give you the calcium. We talked
It'll
about
give you the
that last
calcium.
week.
It'll tweak it up there. Even calcium chloride. Actually, the calcium chloride would probably be better for this beer
than just the gypsum.
You don't use the gypsum. Just use some calcium chloride.
Where would he use that? Where's he putting that in?
In the brewing water. And actually, Pro Mash will split it between your sparge water and your mash water.
So it'll tell him which one to do.
It'll tell you how much to put in one, how much to put in the other one.
Okay.
And I with this water profile, some calcium chloride just to boost the calcium up a little bit because it's a light beer.
Can you get that at your brew shop?
Yes.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Yes,
sure.
And it'll boost the calcium. The chloride, you have none in there, so it'll boost the chloride, which will round it out, kind of make it a little, it's kind of a sweeter kind of round, and that'll help quite a bit.
Okay. How do you spell gypsum? Okay.
G-Y-S-U-M.
He might be calling in now. We got a call
G-Y-P-S-U-M.
too. Someone in the room was asking how you spell gypsum. G-Y-P-S-U-M. Just for fun.
Yeah.
So, is Wayne calling in? Okay, Daniela just answered his call, so we can talk to him too. I'm telling you, after the first one, I was a little worried about tasting the second, but I'm kind of impressed with the second.
Yeah,
I just think, I like it when you can tell that it's a good beer. It just needs some tweaking. That I really like, because as a home brewer for me, I do that to myself even all the time. I go, okay, this is what I went for. It tastes okay, but it's not right. Fix it, right? And you just got that little. It's so much better than just brewing a bad beer, right? Because then there's not much growth from that other than this is what I did wrong. You can definitely take that, but you don't get to say let's do it again, but just alter it,
right?
So I definitely like that his second beer is good, and you just get to change it. Let's put him on the air. Hang on a sec. Okay, go ahead, Wayne. How you doing?
Real good here. Yeah, I didn't think you'd like that Munich. The more I thought about it.
Okay.
I probably shouldn't have even sent it to you.
No, actually, it's a good contrast. It's
I'm
fine.
really glad you sent it to us.
Well, and
That's the perfect thing.
A lot of beers is not one bad thing. People want to say, "What's wrong with my beer?" And they want you to say, "Well, it's this."
Yeah.
It's a lot of times it's a little of this, a little of that,
Yeah.
and you tweak a little of this, tweak a little of that, and I mean, it'll make a lot better beer.
That's
And
how
I'll tell you
learn
what,
too.
if people start sending us perfect beers, we're going out of business, right?
Yeah.
what are we going to do?
Everybody's figured it out.
But your rye version really is a lot better.
Oh, you got a handle on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you get a lot better extraction if you're with the calcium. Boost that up. Are you just using tap water?
I was using. I'm just trying to remember. I just got an RO filter. I don't think that was just before I got my RO filter.
Yeah, because the water profile just says Ashland 50-50.
Yeah. Does it say Ashland or Ashland 50-50?
50-50.
50-50.
Okay, that's half RO water and half.
Okay, then you
water.
definitely got to boost up. You want to have at least 50 ppm for your calcium. Yeah. And you can boost. You got to boost it with calcium chloride, calcium carbonate, or calcium sulfate.
Yeah, I've got both of those.
Calcium chloride would round this beer out really nice.
Okay.
As your sodium's pretty low, your sulfate, everything's pretty low in this, and then when you 50-50 it, I mean, you're almost down to RO water anyway.
Mm-hmm.
While we have them on the line, what do you guys make of this orange color? Is that the lighting in our studio, or is it really sort of an orange
It
tinge
almost looks like
to
a
it?
pink orange.
He's got quick grits and minute rice in there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So is that going to
I
add
was
that
just
color?
doing something quick there, and I think I'll probably go with flake maize next time instead of.
Yeah, because it does have a kind of a corn kind of a flavor, and it's got something.
Chat room wants to know if you brewed extract. It's on your recipe, but I don't have it in front of me. How'd you brew this?
Oh no, it's all
grain.
It's all grain. Okay.
5 gallon all grain. Hersbrucker and Northern Brewer.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what's with your brother just drinking the Bud and the Coors and the Miller?
I don't know. I'm trying to convert him.
Yeah. You know what? It's so
But
hard to
he's great
convert
for
sometimes.
I was just telling him you haven't found a beer that he likes yet.
Yeah.
He's not locked into that.
Did he like this one? Did you give him your rye?
Yeah, he likes the rye. He also likes a classic cream ale classic American cream ale I brewed last spring.
Okay.
Well, don't feel bad. One of my brothers is the same way.
Yeah. Well, Schumann here, who's on the show today, he's a roommate, and he drinks all Coors Light and Bud also. But I think I brewed one beer. And your Hefeweizen that we had on tap, Dr. Scott. He loved the Hefeweizen, and I brewed a blonde ale in the style of a Helles. Not the one you guys tried that tastes like an IPA, but the one that actually worked. And he liked that too. But Schumann, you're all Coors too, right?
Yeah. It's just I guess I kind of grew up on light beer, and I don't like the bitterness of IPAs.
Yeah. Or even the other ones you just think it's not just IPAs. But
well, usually I like Hefeweizens. Like the Franziskaner, I really, really like that beer.
Okay.
And it's also a matter of a lot of times I just get drunk and I'm not really picky. And the Coors Light's easier on the wallet.
And the Coors Light in the refrigerator probably will last a little longer with the roommates.
Oh, nobody else touches it.
Exactly.
I don't go near it. Schumann can keep beer in the fridge all month long. I don't go near it.
It's great. Smart.
You could be crawling to the refrigerator because you haven't had a beer in days. And
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I also think sometimes, genuinely, I think the craft brewers, I believe, brew a better beer, and it's kind of like some people like Taco Bell better than real Mexican food. And some people say they like real Mexican food even if they don't mind Taco Bell.
Right.
I think it can also become a case of the Emperor's New Clothes, where if it's not cool to like the Sierra Nevada, then people drink it anyway.
Right.
But, I mean, if I got Coors Light in the fridge and it's at the end of the party, people drink it anyway.
Yeah.
Even if they give me a lot of...
That's true. I'm guilty of that once or twice, actually. But I gotta be really drunk, and there's nothing else. It's 3 a.m. and it's that or nothing.
Silver bullet in your hand.
Yeah.
Bring it home.
And I talk about it so much that all the roommates just look at me like I'm an idiot. They're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, late at night, Justin will tap the Rockies.
Yeah. All right. Well, Wayne, we do appreciate you sending your beer in. And you know what? I actually got to say, I encourage sending in failed batches. If you consider them personally failed and you don't want to send them to us because we're going to say they're bad, I think that's the wrong idea. The idea here is to be able to identify parts of the process that people can fix. And if anything like that would be good. I think in Wayne's case, it's awesome that we got the batch where we can identify problems, and then the other batch that's much better, and we can say,
I'm glad you sent two.
Yeah,
definitely.
I would love to have you brew this again and send the rye in again.
Yeah,
Right.
Try a fresh yeast, Wayne.
Yeah.
Try a fresh yeast. Try to keep the fermentation temperature and boost the calcium. And use calcium chloride and it'll be a killer beer.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's already pretty nice.
That'll definitely do.
Okay, well, we're going to finish this one, like
Thanks,
I said.
Mike.
It's
Hey, you know what? Everybody has finished this one.
Yeah, actually, no, there's still some in that bottle, isn't it?
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So pass that
Well, I
around.
appreciate the comments.
Cool. Hey, Wayne, really,
Cheers, Wayne.
thanks a lot for sending it in. We appreciate that.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
All right, well, there you go. Another listener beer. Please send it in to us, and like I said, even if it's not perfect, that's really a lot better.
Don't send any Daniela's beer in.
Oh, that was bad.
That was horrible.
I almost came over the desk on that.
Yeah. Both of you were just looking at us like, hee, 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 hee.
Right. I had to keep a smile. She's a lot better than I am, Daniela, giving you a whole story about how she brewed it last week, and you didn't
She's
want
a good liar.
Yeah, she's good. I'm like, I just sit here with a stupid grin on my face.
I just clammed up.
Yeah.
You really looked at me like you wanted to punch my face.
He's a black belt. Be careful.
We just thought it'd be funny. It actually would have been better TV than radio, because you would have had to see their faces.
Yeah.
But we thought it'd be fun anyway. Okay. Daniela, you want to say goodbye to your listeners before we do the whole thing?
Goodbye to everybody. Thank you for trying my beer, Dr. Scott. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, I'll bet.
Now I'm really encouraged to brew, actually, so I'm going to do it.
I actually think it's a good idea, Daniela. We should get you to brew a batch.
I will do so. Don't you worry. I will brew.
Okay.
Okay, remember, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Right. Hey, can you pour me some more Wayne's beer? Because we're finishing up, and
Wayne's World.
I like
Wayne's
it.
World.
I want a little more of that. So let's do that. Okay, Daniela, well, thank you as usual for running the chat room for us.
Thank you, guys. Chat was awesome as always.
You had a lot of
Thank
people
you.
in there with you today, huh?
Yeah, it was great. Really, like 20-something people in
Party
there.
on, Wayne.
Cool.
Thank you to Australia again.
Australia, they're always cool. Okay, thanks, Daniela. All right, so as usual, we'll bring you another great show next week. Not sure what's happening, but we'll let you know in the forum. What did you say you wanted to talk about next week, John? You had a couple suggestions.
I don't remember.
I'll tell you what, we're open to suggestions. So for future shows, go ahead and email me. I'm the contact on the forum. So if you want to click feedback, it'll bring you right to Justin at thebrewingnetwork.com. Go ahead and send me your suggestions of things you'd like us to talk about on the show. In the meantime, we'll probably come up with another good topic for you next week, right, Doc?
Maybe you can give it to me before 5 minutes before the show.
I doubt it. We gave it to you 2 days before this time, right?
2 days.
Oh, it worked out, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. You did. Actually, it did. You did great on the word discussion today. Yeah, we'll try to keep that up. We'll give you a little more advance notice.
3 days.
So, all right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week. You know what time it is now, right, guys? We got to play the good stuff, don't we?
Beer song.
Yeah, I wait the whole show for this. It's
Homebrew
fun.
song.
Do it.
I forgot to do it immediately last week. I played a song, then I played it. So I got it for you. I got it queued up. So if you've been waiting for the song,
Homebrew.
we should do our own version of it sometime. Like after
right?
you guys get half cocked.
I can't get another.
Yeah, we're half musicians in here. We can do it, right?
Yeah.
Hey, right here. Look.
Banjo, acoustic.
Do you play
vocals?
the banjo, Doc?
Of course I do.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
He's got a
Percussion,
banjo shirt on.
acoustic, 3-part harmonies.
You really play the banjo,
Yes,
huh?
I play the banjo.
to the dead.
That's awesome.
The dead.
You're gonna have to bring that in some Sunday.
Yeah, I'll twang for you.
Okay.
Dead on the.
All right.
Hey, I was actually on a job interview. And
Yeah.
I noticed in the corner the guy had a banjo on the stand. I said, "Wow, you play banjo?" And he goes, "Son, if you don't play banjo, you ain't shit."
Ah, and did you pick it up and show him what's what?
No. But that's when I decided I wanted to be shit. So I learned banjo.
Gotcha. No, you got to play that for us on some Sunday. That'll be fun.
Okay.
Cool. We can set it up in the studio. All right, guys. Pale Ale is a friend of mine. We'll see you next week.
Pale ale is a friend of mine, and I sure like good barley wine. Chocolate porter, cherry stout, don't you know what I am talking about? Don't you give me that American crude, boys, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love it? Homebrew, can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind. I love homebrew all the time. Yeah, I think I have me, well, I have me one right now. Charlie Brown. They should know how to get down. Double and triple on my best friend. I think I'll have them all over again. But don't you give me that American crude, boy, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love that homebrew? Can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind. I love homebrew all of the time. Yeah, I think I'll have me, well, I'll have me one right now. Give me a wheat beer on a hot summer day. A bark will do me when the skies are gray. I'll take a Belgian brew anytime, and the women sing the lamb big fine. But don't you give me that American crude, boys, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love that homebrew? Can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind. I love homebrew all of the time. Yeah, I think I'll have me, well, I'm the one right now. Cherry stout, yeah, you know what I am talking about. But don't you give me that American crude, boys, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love that homebrew? Can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind. I love homebrew all the time. Yeah, I think I have